become champions of 67. And then he's
Hello and welcome to episode 44 of Celtic Rumours TV, the Bawz and Bovril podcast with your host Mark and myself Paul. Joining us on today's show we have Michael, that's Michael Dundee from our forum. The forum to the podcast is celticrumours.co.uk where Celtic supporters discuss everything about Celtic. So if you wish to check it out, please have a look at it if you're interested. Please hit the like button and the notifications and leave a comment for us at the end of the show in the comments section. On today's show we will take a look at the latest gossip and rumours from Celtic. We will have a look at today's match against Hearts which finished 3-2 to Celtic in the last round of 16 in the Scottish League Cup, and we'll be looking through the latest live chat. So please, if there's anything you wish to discuss, please let us know, and we'll take a look ahead at this week's Europa League qualifier against AZ Alkmaar. Firstly though, Mark will give a few shout outs to the fellow Celtic supporters and fans of the podcast.
Thanks very much, Paul. Some shout outs as usual, guys. Richie, AGG, Tim Alloy, young Ben. I see Malik, I seen on the live chat earlier. Malik has got some family with him over in Spain now, so coming over as well, so that's good for him. He actually get back his family after everything he's been through the past year or so. Now we mentioned for Mikey, I don't know what's happened to Mikey, Paul, man. See if he's met me, his life's just fallen to bits. He's done his ligaments twice, he's had wisdom teeth out, and then now he's having to isolate for 10 days because somebody at work has got COVID.
Jesus.
I think we've got involved with
I think we jinxed him, Mark, because
sticking wee pins in wee dolls or something. But just when you said as well, Paul, about the comments thing, what that is, just to explain, Miles was talking to me and Paul about this on Discord, and it's one of the ways to help like your channel grow, and that is like the likes and subscriptions. But see, if you leave comments in the comment section, that kind of helps you push yourself up with like the YouTube algorithm charts or whatever it is, and it shows how kind of popular you're. So if you know how to leave a comment, please leave one. As I say, it all helps us to try and push on and make it grow a bit.
Perfect. Moving on to gossip and rumours. Celtic striker Usain Edward is demanding 85,000 a week wages if he will move away from Celtic this summer. Will Edward get these wages after his performance from Celtic last season? That's the question Celtic fans are asking. Ryan Christie wasn't on the Celtic team sheet today. Does this signal that Ryan Christie is looking to leave the club, or is it just a simple injury related? Crystal Palace manager Patrick Vieira said yesterday after his team's defeat to Chelsea that he expects signings within the next couple of days at Crystal Palace. And Patrick Vieira has been a long-term admirer of Ryan Christie in the past. Celtic should know in the next 72 hours if Man City young right back Jan Couto will be joining the club. Jan Couto was a VIP guest alongside Fergal Harkin at last Thursday night's Europa League game against Yolbak, and witnessed a stunning display by Celtic, and also witnessed a stunning atmosphere that the Celtic fans gave at their first meeting back at Celtic Park. This will come and 6 signing if the 19-year-old agrees to come to Celtic in the next couple of days. The agent on OH11 striker Thomas Henry has said a come and get me plea to Celtic, and that his client favours a move to Celtic. And he also said that Celtic need to move fast and make it clear that their interest in the player or his client will be looking elsewhere. So, to Terry Mac, that does Thomas Henry's move to Celtic all depend on Edward staying or going?
I think it's got something to do with it. I definitely do. I don't think it's down to the money side of things or that, but I think it's down to
size of the squad and strike there, Mark, and because
we've said it before, but my own opinion is I would,
Tony situation.
but it's a lot of money just to say to somebody, look away and train yourself. You're not getting in the team when you're going to be bringing this guy in. I don't think it is a money-driven thing. It's squad size and how the teams are going to be playing kind of idea. So
See
we need
that's it. Like it's really kind of because I was thinking about it like when I was doing up things like this is twice now. We haven't brought in a striker because of Edouard. Last season, it was supposedly being down to the Ivan Toney. Celtic never made a bid for this player. They never came out and said they were interested in this player, Mark. But we're going with what the media said to us here. And that was down to Edouard being persuaded to stay again for another season, which clearly, Mark, going by last season, Edouard really didn't want to do that. And we're going back to the same situation here now where we're back with Edouard. Is he staying or is he going? Will he get these wages? Like Edouard's wages by the media, Mark, aren't over excessive because
kind of made that.
That's mid-table or relegation wages, Mark, that are in the Premier League, aren't they?
I mean, I said it on the forum, Paul. I don't believe for a minute that he's asking for 85 grand a week, but even it's not really that far going. When you look at I put on the forum what Crystal Palace are paying a couple of their players. I mean, that Benteke, 120 grand a week.
For what? 2-3 goals a season, Mark?
Aye. The average wage in the Premier League's just...
And considering what you said there, like, considering... Because I actually watched the match today last night, the thing as I sent you, and I watched Crystal Palace. Like, Crystal Palace have left a lot of players go, Mark. Like, so they have wages to free up. Like, so they have wages to pay. Like, it's really down to Edouard, Mark, like that. Edouard thinks that he can pick and choose these clubs. But realistically, Mark, he can't because this is the level that Edouard put himself in because of his performance to Celtic last season. Brighton, Crystal Palace, West Ham.
Yep. Although he will be looking for a serious wedge and a pay rise when he moves, as I said before, the reason he turned down West Ham is because he's not going to be first choice striker. I think the game time's more important to him than the actual.
No, but that's a lack of ambition for him too, Mark. Like as you said there, and as Barry said, like if Celtic went to go Naismith, and is Naismith going to come here and sit in the bench? And like Barry put a good point too, Mark. Like it's up to the player coming in not to put himself on the bench and prove that he should be the number one striker, isn't it?
Well, it is, but Edward obviously didn't fancy fighting that Antonio at West Ham for the main striker job. But I think it's more Edward wants to be somebody's main man, and anybody that comes in is going to have to knock him off his perch, kind of thing. I think,
No.
Mikey, you there, aye?
Yeah, I'm here, guys, yeah.
There's Mikey on as well, Paul.
Mikey, what did the club do in this situation with Edouard? Do the club go to him, right, we want an answer? Are you committed to the club and signing a 3-year contract? We're not going to give you a 1-year deal. Or think, what did the club do with this situation with Edouard?
I don't know, it's a really hard one. I'm of the opinion that you either sign a long-term deal or you leave. To this, like...
Because if he signs a 1-year deal, Mike, we're back to the same situation next season again. Like, you know what I mean? We're waiting on him to make another decision then again after 1 year again, like, isn't it?
There's no chance that Edouard will be there come the end of the window.
Oh.
Like, so you see it, people do their business. Everything gets done last minute. It's just basically like trying to call people's bluffs on him. So Celtic need to prepare for life without Christie and Edouard. The guys will be away.
Should we get the players in now, Mark, and take that risk and get the players in? And like Edouard, he played today, and look, I must say he had a good game, but it's not the Edouard we see before, Mark. Do you know what I mean? He had a good game. That's all I'm saying. It wasn't exceptional game what we saw in the past.
No,
from Edouard.
He could have scored another couple of goals as well. I mean, it was a decent enough performance here, but I've said it for weeks, and Mikey said it there. I've never thought Edouard was going to be here come the end of the end of the window, and all that stuff about running down the contract. Now I just can't see that.
Because Ange said that himself there, Mark, during the week, that if Edward left for nothing next season, that's a real cash blow for Celtic. You know, and it is really, Mark. Like, isn't it? Like we let Edward, like, our record signing 9 million go for nothing. Like, Celtic can't afford to be letting a player like that go for nothing either.
Oh, definitely. Celtic have been telling his agent, get your finger out here, get this move dealt with. We've told you months ago what we wanted. You need to, said it before, it's up to the agent to go out there and get the deal that suits everybody now.
The lad, Mikey, you might know about him, the young lad, Jan Kutu. He was at the game the other night that a decision will be made in 72 hours. I think Janovic deal could be off, and Buta, as you said to us as well before, that deal is off. But is this lad a ready-made replacement to come in, do you think, or is he Ben Radisson? Do you know anything about him?
I do. Yeah, he's meant to be highly regarded, but I mean, we were talking, how many times have we talked about loans in the past, and yeah, he might. Patrick Roberts was a good loan because we had him for 2 years. So, I mean, another year's loan. I mean, I was very surprised that they've not pushed to get the Croatian right back for Legia Warsaw. Like you say, he for the money. For the loan fee and wages that Celtic are going to need to contribute towards.
That's what that exactly, Mikey. See, that's you just hit the nail on the head there. Like for what we're probably going to pay in a loan here, I think it's going to be roughly, the loan might be 2 million, and for next year maybe 1.5. We can get Janovic, Mark. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's be serious questions there again, Marco. The way the board are going about things, like, isn't it?
I don't know much about this guy that's the young guy that's coming in on loan, to be honest with you, Paul. But I was speaking to Mikey about it earlier on when we were talking, and see for any right back to come into the Celtic team now. For me, they've got to, what we're talking about with strikers, but they've got to displace. I mean, Ralston, you can't just go and drop Ralston because we're bringing in a right back. Because he's really not done anything wrong this season for us.
No, and we spoke to him with Barry, Mark, and
the first guy coming in, I mean, is he coming in to be Ralston's understudy?
See, that's it.
A hell of a lot of money to spend on an understudy for a year.
Exactly, and when we spoke about on the last podcast there, Mark, on Thursday, we spoke about Ange, and he said from day one, Radisson was one of the players from day one that took everything that Ange said to him on board, Mark. And we can't fault Radisson, Mark, because the shifts that lad is putting in at the moment are unbelievable, and we're paying a lot of money, Mark, for a young lad maybe to come in and just, is it going to be another situation as we're filling a gap? You know, like we have 2 right backs then. Do you know what I mean? It's that's really what it's kind of looking at. You know, we're not making an investment in that position when we should have, Mark. Do you know what I mean?
Well, we should be buying somebody that's better than Ralston, like the Croatian guy. And Ralston for me played his game well enough to prove that he can be an understudy and probably get better as he goes on as well. So he's going to be pushing the new guy, but just bringing in some boy from alone, I don't understand.
It's like what the lads from Australia, Gavin and Gary said to us, Mark. Celtic will do their usual thing. If they don't get their targets, they'll knock on Man City's door. You know?
Well, it's starting to look like that again a bit. This just came from nowhere, didn't it? This kind of, I mean, we were linked with a couple of times, but we never actually gave it any much thought that it would happen. That's the kind of option would be.
And that's that. It kind of after that, because I never really took notice of it, like Michael, and that's really kind of the way Celtic kind of look at things. If they don't get their targets, they go down looking at the Man City youth system, or they do the usual thing, head down to Man City, isn't it? You know?
It annoys me so, because whether Celtic have got a good relationship with Man City or not, that's still going to be a decent loan fee for him. Well,
Exactly.
like you said, my worry with the guy as well, and he looks good on paper, and he did well for Girona last season in Spain. How many Brazilian players have skated to Scotland and settled in and did well?
Exactly, and you're talking about the physical side of things as well, Mike. Like you said there, like, you know what I mean. Like, it's a risk. Like, and that's what I think it is. Like, I think it's a risk from who we've been linked to. We've been linked with Buxa. We've been linked with Janovic. We've been linked numerous right backs who I would think would have been a better signing than Kutu. Do you know what I mean? And we seem to be going back to the same thing as we were before, that loan signing, and we're not really doing what we need to be doing, Mark, is buying players and investing in the squad that we have players for next season. We're not, and because you have to look at the overall thing of it, Mark. Like, we're going to be back to the same situation next season, maybe, that Celtic need to buy a right back. Do you know what I mean? When that money could be used to actually improve the squad rather than fixing a problem that should have been fixed 4 or 5 years ago. You know?
Oh, it's madness. I just don't understand it at all, Paul.
You know, and it was all over Twitter then. Sorry, Mark, it was all over Twitter then yesterday and today that Janovic was left out of the leg of walk or so maybe that says something, but I look, he's carrying a knock, and that's why he was left out. So there's no link there, Mark, why he was left out of the game yesterday with Lega. You know?
That's the draw. Sorry, no, but that's the draw in the next 30 seconds away to go and start for the next round of that cup. I've just got it on live in the background.
Yeah.
So I'll update it. I'll update it. So there'll probably be maybe somebody in the chat will probably be ahead of me, like, but
the game
The
will
way
I've got 40 second delay, so
go, you know.
Mikey, the way the live stream goes, Jesus Christ, we'll be off here by the time they get that score, you know.
But
Paul, I didn't you say sorry about Juranovic, well, Legia Warsaw the day. His manager came out and says that he missed the game due to injury, but the board came out and says that he was left out the day because his mind wasn't in it.
So, like, it can't play you too, Mickey. Do you know what I mean? Like, if a big club like Celtic is, because, like, Mickey, you know, and Jonas know, and I watch a lot of the Polish league as well here, like that. Like, they're not on big money marks. Do you know what I mean? They're not on big wages. Do you know what I mean? And for what Lega are asking, like, they're asking for about 3 million, 3.5. That's not a lot of money for Celtic, like, considering what they probably would pay 2 million for this young lad from Man City. You know?
My worry about Juranovic's great, get him in, but again, he still needs to dislodge Ralston first. Again, the day it was evident that Taylor's never ever going to be a left back for Celtic, going as an attacking minded player. He is all right defensively, but he is so bad at getting the ball into the box.
Did you notice there as well today as well? We'll move on to the match there as well, but just point out that Taylor was targeted again today by Hearts. Boyce was going on to him when they were playing the long ball. Boyce was moving up. Starfelt then had to kind of push on the left hand side to cover that high ball. I think Taylor's going to be targeted every game. Every team now sees Taylor as a weakness in this Celtic team, Michael.
Yeah, like I say, that's because yes, we can all see it. Like I says, me and Mark have fought his corner. I didn't think.
Oh, without doubt.
I didn't think he needed to fight his corner in the sense that I still think he would do a job normally at Scottish level, but even the day against Hearts, going forward, and that's what Celtic needed him. They're always going to be 99% on the attack. If you've not got a fullback that can't put a ball into the box, then he's useless. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I think left back's more a priority than right back just now. I mean, I gave Ralston it as much as anybody on here, but the last 3-4 games that guy's played, he's looked solid. Like, he's a unit of a guy as well. Like,
and he really scored again today as well. Like, you know, he was up in the box again there again today. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, he's really giving his all. Like, and you can't fault him. Like, everyone is saying that he gives his all, but it's his performance more than anything that has improved. Like, he always gave his all for the club, but he's really, after taking what, and we were always saying that about Ange, that really be able to improve the players that were already at the club. And it's evident that he's improved the players, but like what he's done with Radisson is and that's down to Radisson as well.
See, be honest, see if you
it's like a signing, Mark.
You wouldn't recognise Ralston. The way he's playing now, really, and even again, you've got to give Tom Rogic some credit as well. Last few games, Rogic is really, he's like a brand new player as well. Seems to
Yeah,
a
looks like signings, Mark. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? They look like new signings for the club. Like, you know what I mean? Like you have to like say like how the standards at the club actually dropped. Like, you know what I mean? And if the standards drop at the club, Michael, the player standards will drop as well. Like, won't they?
Yeah, well, I think the thing with Ralston is the last two clubs that he's went to on loan, they both said that he wasn't even good enough for them.
Mm-hmm.
So to have that transformation in a player where he couldn't even get a game for like Dundee United and St Johnstone and
Yeah, even Jonas was saying that to us when Jonas has been on the pod with us like that. Radisson just wasn't good enough for Dundee United, Mark. You know what I mean? You know, and how we can change things around for us like is unbelievable. Like. Yeah. You there?
Aye, I thought that was to Mikey. Mikey was talking. I thought you were just talking to Mikey there.
I just mix it up between the two of you, Mark. You know what I mean? There's no point in me staying on Mikey all the time when I have you as well, so I mix things up. You know, that's all the joy of the podcast and being the host, that I can mix things up. Moving on, like, look, the score really doesn't reflect on what this game was today. Like, look, I know we won 3-2 today, like, but if you watch the game, Mark, the performance tells a different story, doesn't it?
Definitely. The scoreline doesn't match for the performance, the game that we saw. We were all over them. I mean, the penalty, I don't know. The penalty was a stone waller, but I still wasn't convinced. Edward, I don't think Edward should have got booked for that. I really don't. I don't think he did make a mistake. I'm not saying that. But I mean, you get down to England and even up here, and pundits will sit there and tell you, if you get touched, you're entitled to get down and things like that. Edward was touched. Their legs were kind of in a bit of a tangle. I'm not saying it
because that would have went to VAR, Mark, down in England.
Aye, and they probably have gave that because
and you've seen them give it.
Contact should have went down. So
but then
I don't know. I'm not saying it was a penalty, but definitely I wouldn't have put it down as a kind of out and out dive that he deserved to get booked for it.
But also, Mark, then like you have to question, and Michael Short said as well that the Hearts had a penalty claim as well, and it was a clear dive, and Beaton gave no booking there. I don't know what play it was now, but I remember Michael Short was saying it like why is Beaton booking Edward and not booking the Hearts player for practically the same thing? Like, you know what I mean? You know, like Beaton nearly had his card out before Edward even hit the ground. I said.
I see that Beaton. We're going about the refs and that and about the incompetency, but Beaton's one, and I don't know if it's incompetence with him or whether it is just his bias coming through, but he's a shocking referee altogether. Anytime I've watched him, do you get what I mean? He seems to, he's in control of the game, but it doesn't seem to, it's just his decisions, the decisions he makes in games, he stops the game to give these wee silly fouls, and then play on when you're looking for a free kick and maybe a booting, and he just waves play.
Yeah, because on the 63rd minute when Kyogo got brought down and Hearts player got a booking, that wasn't Beaton at all. That was actually the linesman that gave that decision, that made contact with Beaton. So I think it's just if the linesman wouldn't have even interfered, Mark, that free kick wasn't because it was off the ball. I mean, Kyogo was kicked off the ball, and Beaton was fucking looking at it straight away, but it was actually the linesman that called it back. Do you know what I mean? Like, so,
he'll be getting pulled up about that. Beaton will be saying to him, don't you ever do that when you're working with me again.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? It just shows like that, like, Beaton more so than any, Mark, like, he really has this thing against Celtic or something like that, doesn't he?
Oh,
you know?
Definitely. I don't buy into all the conspiracy theory stuff, but he's definitely one that's wears his heart on his sleeve, let's say it that way.
Mm-hmm. Michael, I know we touched him there as well, but I had in my notes anyway about Taylor. His crossing as well today was very poor, wasn't it? Like, he either couldn't beat the first man, or when he did cross it, it went miles over the other side of the pitch. Like, he really is kind of standing out for me, being very poor. Taylor.
Yeah, just for anybody as well that's listening, that's not in the chat. Celtic drew Wraith Rovers at home in the cup.
That's not a bad draw.
Could have been worse.
Rangers got Livingston, Dundee United got Hibs, and Dundee got St Johnstone.
Rangers at home, Mikey.
Yeah, they're all at home. Yeah,
that's a tough draw for them anyway. You know, Livingston is I know what it is. They seem to be a bogey team, Mark, for Celtic and Rangers as well. At sometimes Livingston is like they're a tough team to play against because they're physical, like, you know.
These are turned up and they're physical and want to fight kind of thing. Or
Yeah.
They lie down and you pump them into it, really.
Going about the physical side of it, though, like we think today, like we saw Kyogo really up against a first physical Scottish team. Now, he was getting kicked about, Mark, but he handled it well.
He clattered Andy Halliday's.
Yeah.
Didn't he just at the start of the game? Did Halliday get mentioned after that?
No, really. He got taken off as well. Halliday.
Did he get took off? I thought he'd been took off, but I couldn't make.
Took off at half time as usual.
Was it half time he went off? Aye.
He got subbed at half time, yeah.
Like, he was able to kind of handle, Mark, what I think they were kind of throwing at him, didn't they? He kind of got back up, he took it, and he thinks, well, the worry is now, Mark, that and Barry's saying as well, because he'll terrorise defences, he'll run off them, and defenders in Scotland don't like that he could be maybe a marked man now in Scotland.
I believe people, you're marked man. All good players are, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Like, do you think he's able to handle it, or the physique side of it?
He already proved today that he can handle it. Like he says, he can obviously give out. And like he says, the last Japanese quality player we had, Nakamura, I mean, he got targeted every game as well, but it didn't stop him. And I actually think, looking at them, even though it's early days for Kyogo actually seems a lot more tougher and able to put yourself about more than Nakamura.
Yeah, he's not afraid to go in for a tackle either and give it, Mark, isn't he? Like, as you said there, Mark, he gave it to Halliday. Like, he's a tough act, Mark, in fairness to him, like, you know what I mean? You know?
Definitely seems to be coping with the physical side of the game. Well, I mean, that's twice we've played Hearts. I mean, Hearts are probably one of the more physical teams in Scotland, and the day especially, just didn't seem to faze him. I mean, he wasn't really complaining, do you know what I mean? A lot of these players, see these kind of foreigner players will come in and they'll complain they're always at the ref about getting fouls and wee nick kicks and that, but Kyogo just seems to get his seat down and go on with it.
Mm-hmm. The first goal, like, one touch football, Michael Stewart said, like, Kyogo, Forrest, Edward, the movement off the ball between the three lads making the space and how fast it was. Some goal, like, what did the first goal want to?
It was a good goal, but I still think Celtic play better when Edward isn't in the team.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
As a team, like he says, when you've had Kyogo through the middle, Abada and Ryan Christie on the left hand side, that would be as the.
We seem to be making more space, Michael, when Kyogo was up front instead of Edward. There seemed to be more space for people to run into. Like, Edward was kind of, and Barry said it too, Mark, that he's still kind of so still, like, that he's not making movement, and the players can't really move around him then either, you know.
Well, I think you could see the difference in the team.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of games where Kyogo's been playing through the middle. With Edward being in there today, you could see a difference in the team, and the way it wasn't kind of crisp and sharp in and about the boxes. It's been the last couple of games, and that's down to Edward making the same kind of runs as Kyogo does to pull defenders in place.
Abada seems to be a kind of a miss as well, Mark, don't you, on the right, don't he? Yeah, young Abada, he seems to be. Forrest doesn't kind of bring the same intensity that Abada will bring us.
No, I don't think he's as like, what's the word I'm looking for? Is it Forrest? I wouldn't say Forrest is as aggressive as Abada. Do you know, when you're trying to, like, defending for the front and things like that? Forrest will run about, but he's not really. he's no Harry players as such. He'll have a wee chase back, but he's not going to chase them over the park to get the ball kind of idea. Whereas Abada mere get a higher work rate. That's kind of higher work rate than Forrest. But I thought Forrest did a decent enough game again.
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing that annoys me with Forrest is this constant need to come inside.
Yeah.
And use outside his foot to pass it and shoot all the time. I mean, this has just turned into a bad habit because it's actually it's no benefiting Celtic in any way. He's obviously lost a yard of pace and he kens it. Because I can't remember the last time he actually took on a man and actually got the ball into the box.
And that's what Barry was saying as well, Mark, that that's not the way Ange wants his wingers to play. He wants his wingers down the byline, getting the ball across for the forwards.
I think Ange is wanting to have like the option.
Mm-hmm.
Like players that can come inside or go round the back, and it's up to the defenders to kind of guess what way he's going to go, that kind of idea. But as Mikey says with Forrest, it's always cutting inside.
Cutting in.
And that outside of the foot push.
He's definitely lost something, Mark, hasn't he? He's definitely lost a bit of pace or...
That's pace, but...
Like, what's he know? What is Forrest pushing on then, Mikey? 27, 28, 29. You know what I mean? You're definitely going to use an edge, like, and especially too.
30. But see the thing about it, see if you can cross the ball in that, Paul. You don't need that much pace. I mean, look at David Beckham was there.
Yeah.
He had no great pace, but if anywhere on that right wing, he could put the ball on a 10 pence.
But that's it, like, yeah, like
Nakamura.
You never really
was
see.
Not quick at all.
But you never see Forrest really, Mark, putting a cross in from the byline, do you? Do you know what I mean? You never see him put it across even from the sideline. Like he just always tries to cut in or something like that. Like, do you know what I mean? And it's not benefiting us then because like the space is open then on the left hand side. Like for any of our players to run down or even Madison to run down that wing, but he's not giving the ball then, Mark, because he's so gone far in the middle of the field. Like by the time Madison gets down the pitch, like I mean that option then is gone for Celtic. Then you know what I mean?
Like Rogic, if you give Rogic the ball, Rogic is going to in and about the box. Rogic will try and dribble through 2 and 3 men, and a lot of the times he does do it. Edwards the same type, and for some reason Forrest seems to have took on that he's going to do that. He's cutting inside and trying to dribble his way round the defenders to get a shot.
You think that's down to maybe previous managers, Mark, that maybe Forrest is doing that? Maybe was he told cut in and that maybe Ange will tell him eventually that he needs to cut down out of his game, that's not the way he wants to play?
Well, he'll need to Forrest won't be in the team because it's not producing much.
No.
I think the problem for Forrest is now, and albeit Abad has been injured the last couple of games, but he'll be back on Wednesday, as Ange has already confirmed. Before Abada came in, who did Forrest actually hate pushing him?
No one. Last one we said it there and you said it and Barry said it was Patrick Roberts, and that was the only really time that Forrest kind of upped his game when he had someone on his back pushing for his spot, Mike.
Yeah, like he says in Abada, like as it stands anyway, on Wednesday if Abada's fit, Abada plays.
I think so as well. I think Forrest is the kind of backup now. A day, Mikey.
He says it's
buying a right winger. Fair dues he can play in the left, but we're counting him as a right winger now. We're not going out to sign a right winger that's going to although he is only 19, so Forrest will get plenty of game time. But for me, I think Abada's been brought in to be the first choice.
And somebody saying there on Twitter, obviously, he's going on about Twitter about rumours, blah, blah, blah. But supposedly Christie is not even in Glasgow, he's down in England for talks with a Premier League club.
It's Crystal Palace.
So that, again, that's fine, as long as they bring in Christian or Lovric as the replacement, which somebody said on, I think it was Buzzbomb put on the other day, saying that the bid's already been lodged for him. So if Christie was to leave and Lovric comes in, that would be unbelievable.
Because like I said,
just because I've been on here loads of times and people must get sick of me talking about wingers, but Thelma Lovric and Abada and that Kyle go through the middle, it's just dangerous. Like
I personally, Mark, Mikey.
Yeah, but I said that earlier on the live chat.
I personally put in Crystal Palace into that Christie thing because Vieira said yesterday that they're actually in talks with players and players will be coming in as soon as possible. And Vieira tried to sign Christie last year for Monaco, and he's always been admired. So I actually think that Palace or the team that Christie could be talking to. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't Palace.
Was it Vieira? Was it Nice, Paul, that he tried to sign him for?
Nice, was it Nice, was this?
Yeah, I think that's with Vieira.
Well, Henry was at Monaco, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Vieira was with Nice,
yeah. 100% Vieira did try to sign him for Nice, and it would make sense because, well, Crystal Palace got pumped yesterday as well, did they? But it was for Chelsea right enough. But Crystal Palace have got, well, according to their fans, they're in dire straits regarding players just now, so it would make sense if that was the case, which is fine. I think the rumour saying it's 5-6 million or something for Christie. What, with 6 months left on his contract? Surely that seems a bit steep, no?
Yeah, but like you're going at that, then like you're saying it looks a bit steep, like. But then like you see players leaving the big clubs for 10-20 million, like Sanchez only had a year left in his contract when he joined Manchester United, and they forked out nearly 10 million for him that time.
I think the problem is still paused. Christie's only got 6 months left on his deal, is he?
6
Not
months.
A year. So he technically he can actually sign a pre-contract now with Crystal Palace and leave in January.
See, we've had this out before, and I've never heard. It's so unusual for contracts in the middle of the season. I think people have seen when it was Christie signed his last contract extension, which was about December, a couple of years back, and I've took it that it's been for then. I mean, I've spoken before about it, and nobody's ever. And Ed too says all contracts run to like the 30th of June or the 30th of, like the end of the season. That's when contracts. That's why players sign like 18-month deals. And if you
it does seem strange, but obviously I agree, and I've said on this in the past that it must be the case that he contract will run until June next year. But it's just based on obviously what's getting said in the media.
Even for a year for us to get 6 or 7 million.
Yeah, well, you bite your hand off.
I mean, we get the same kind of money for Armstrong, wouldn't it, for Southampton?
Well, like he says, the club that Lovric is coming for, they've already says that a club has matched the 5 million fee. It's looking like it is Celtic. So to actually buy Lovric,
and he's like
money,
and make money, yeah.
And Mikey, like this lad Lovric, like, and I was reading it about him, like this lad Lovric, like anytime Celtic have been playing, like he's linked them on his Instagram, he's celebrated when they scored a goal on his Instagram, like this player wants to come to Celtic, like.
Maybe it's done deal and we're just waiting it to go.
Waiting for Christie to go, like the same way your Mark and Starfed was already in.
But again, we're on about Crystal Palace. I wouldn't be surprised to see them come back in for Edward as well.
I was going, especially like you say, that Benteke up front is probably one of the biggest donkey they've seen in a long time. And the fact that he's on 6-figure salary is actually scary. And like it says, people say that Edward 85 grand a week, he's not worth that. I understand where they're coming from, but you've got to look at what he'll probably be looking at, like, well, that Benteke and maybe Zaha's, he plays 1 or 2 good games in 10, but that Christian Benteke, how he got 100, whoever his agent is, I'm going to see if he can maybe get me someplace like that with 120 grand.
Yeah,
so
I mean, like,
like, I mean, 120 grand.
Him, like he offers nothing for a striker, like how Crystal Palace can't even see that Edward is I wouldn't even say an upgrade. Do you know what I mean? It'd be 2-3 players better than what Bendit would offer. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if Crystal Palace don't sign a player of Edward and they stick with Bendit, they're going down.
I remember, like he says, back when Crystal Palace, they signed Joel Edley for us as well on deadline day as well, did he? So they'll play like hardball right to the final few hours of the window, like they did with Ledley as well.
Is he still involved there? Is Parrish still there, Mikey?
Yeah, he's still the owner.
He's still there. He's still there, isn't he? Him, Parrish, yeah. And Dougie Freeman, I think. Is it Freeman is there as well? I think he's
Friedman.
kind of the director of football or something like that with him.
He's been involved with Crystal Palace for years, hasn't he, Dougie Friedman?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was back to the early 2000s, ever since he's played for them. I think that was the last club he played for.
Yeah, but he's been there, like, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to go.
John Kennedy.
Don Kennedy, Mark.
Don't get me started.
Well,
Don't get.
right, you've sat there and you've slagged the guy off for months, right? Going on about John Kennedy, and do you think this is John Kennedy still having an influence? We're playing well, everybody's delighted. You're not giving John Kennedy any credit.
Why?
Would you?
But it's surely Ange is his own man, so I believe that it's Ange that's making decisions now.
Oh,
I believe
I
that.
have that.
I believe, right, that when Ange came into the first few games against Midtjylland and team, that's why we played Beeson in that back line. And Ange obviously saw that Welch is a better player, and he actually put Welch in there. I think that was Kennedy's influence on him putting Beeson into that back line.
I think it's Kennedy that's having influence on the team just now. All that quality football, I think it comes right for Kennedy's brain.
Bollocks.
Mikey.
Don't get me started now. I'm complaining
But as we've
why
said
her laptop was hopped off the wall.
but as we've said before when we were talking about like Lennon and Kennedy and things like that, these coaches are only as good as what the top man's telling them to do.
Yeah.
So Kennedy will be again. Learning under Ange, and if he's doing what Ange is telling him to do,
Yeah, learning under Ange, learning not to tell him to put Beeson into the back line.
I personally think that Beaton got put in the back line for Ange. I genuinely think it was for experience.
I think that as well, Mikey. That's what I said at the time. It was the only reason I could think of.
So,
but you're going to experience though, like that. Welch has done nothing wrong since he went into that back line, has he?
No, he's a good player. I still think we need another centre back, and I thought it might be for Starfelt till he gets settled, because he's looking a bit shaky just now. There's no doubt that the guy's got quality. He didn't play for Ruben Kazan, and in the Sweden national team, if you've not got a bit of quality about you.
I just know hot the ground running. Other players have. They've just come in and settled seamlessly into the team. Starfield's looking a wee bit stuck, kind of thing, but just basic. He's making silly mistakes, but you know, as Mikey said, he's played at the highest levels. He's and things. He's not going to. It'll just take a bit longer to settle in. I see already there's people he's garbage and that. We shouldn't have signed him, but.
It's take a while, Mark. Like I think I only looked at because I was looking at the starting lineup today. That you're nearly a banker now that's going to be your back four for every game. It's going to be Hart, Ralston, Welch, Starfelt, and Taylor. That seems to be and he seems to be consistent with that. So the more they play, the more they get. They might get comfortable with each other, like, you know. So Starfelt and Welch, I think, will have to play more games to build up that partnership together, you know, and more understanding, you know.
But you've got to, if you for bring in, look at, I agree with Mikey. I think we need to bring in, we definitely need to bring in another centre back. But again, Paul, the amount of games we play,
yeah, you're gonna have to rotate. Yeah, exactly.
Build up with partnerships,
because
no matter who's playing together, but they're comfortable beside each other.
Julian's, like, we're told he could be back, maybe it could be early November now and stuff like that. But Julian's the type of player, Mark, as well, who pick up a niggle here and there as well. Like, Julian's mightn't last a full season. He could pick up another injury. He seems that kind of like another beat on or something, doesn't he, Julian?
And see, but he will. He'll just come back. He'll play a few games and he'll miss a game with a niggly injury, and then he'll play a game. I think he's just going to be that type of player. What
was your thoughts in the lineup when you saw the lineup? Were you surprised at it that you saw the lineup that Edward was in there and that there was no Christie there? Or
I was surprised. I was surprised to see Edward starting. Mikey said he thought he would start out on the left. I wasn't so sure about that, but the team just wasn't as fluid and as sharp the day with Edward starting in there. It just really, everything about the rest of the team was doing what it'd been doing, but when it was getting to the kind of Edward point, it was breaking down a lot. I
think that was my concern as well, Mark, that when the lineup came out, were we going to be as fluid? Because we actually talked about it in the last pod, and it was Barry that said it, that he fears that if Edward stays and if Edward comes into things, he's going to slow down the fluency of the attack. And we saw that today. Like, he did slow it down.
Definitely.
You know? You know,
I just don't understand why they started Edwards through the middle, because like I said to Mark earlier on the phone, he drifts out left all the time for the ball. Well, I mean, that was, I just don't understand, and like I say, Kyogo's movement is 10 times better than Edwards.
because I was saying that to Mark, I Mark at half time. I was saying to Mark, like, Kyogo seems more forward than Edward, and Kyogo seems to be the one, Mark, who was getting into the space in the front, and Edwards was outside the back, outside of the box. You know,
It did, but Kyogo seemed to be further forward than my striker was a lot of the time. You're right in saying that, Paul. But
you know,
it was just a weird decision.
like there was a lack of, like, you could see it, Mark, like. When we played Jan back and we played Dundee, when Kyogo was up there, the movement and how these lads, like, off the ball, they created a space for each other. The three, Abada, Christie, and Kyogo, the movement by the three lads, Mark, and the space they created. There was none of that today.
Doesn't do that. Edward will stand
No.
in front of a defender and take the ball. We are getting
Yeah, exactly.
right at his back.
Exactly, and you're giving away that option then of creating space for other people, like, because there's going to be 2-3 defenders around Edward anyway, Mark, because of his skill and what Edward can do. You know what I mean? And he's not making space for other players, but what he should be doing.
No,
you know,
when the ball's coming to him, he's looking to take on 2 or 3 men himself, rather than if there are 2 men on Edward, there's space somewhere round about him. But he should be just getting like wee flicks through and things like that as well. But he doesn't seem to do anything like that either very often. But he did just to do things like that. He just seems to be playing kind of within himself a lot, Edward. He's just trying to do too much and take on too many men and things like that all the time.
I still think, Mark, and it's still a lack of interest in Celtic Football Club from Edward. Like, I know he scored today and things like that, but I'm not going to say, oh, Edward has turned the corner, because going by his overall performance, Mark, he didn't turn a corner. You expect Edward to score these goals, and Edward should have had more goals today. You know?
Oh, he should have scored more today. And no, just because he scored today, no, he's not turned to any corner. Do you know what I mean? It's. See, really, I'm with Mikey. He'll not be here. He'll not be here by the end of the window. So I'm hoping we're wasting our time here, keeping going over and over the mistakes and things he's not doing right.
I say I didn't agree with some people that think that there isn't interest in him. There'll be plenty of clubs interested, but like it says, everything's got like a chain reaction for stuff to kick into gear. And like I said, there's no way that Edward, unless we wake up in the morning, it's like he's signing a 4.5-year deal, which you wanna, he'll 100% be away. But the problem is if it's on the last day of the season, which I think it will be on the transfer deadline day, Celtic need to make sure that they've got the replacement in.
See, that's it, Mikey. That's what I was saying to Mark on the rooms before you came on, like, because this lad Tomas Henry, like, his agent saying that Celtic need to act now. He needs a decision, and that's the issue, Mark. Like that I have with this Celtic board at the moment. That, and if they are waiting for Edward to leave, and as Michael said there, Mark, he does leave the last game of the season, are Celtic going to be stuck then with the same scenario as we have been before, like not having the right structure in place, that we knew Edward was leaving all the time and we didn't replace him, you know? Mark? Sorry,
Paul, I muted my mic here. People are blaming, like you're saying, is this going to be Celtic's fault and this and that? But it's no Celtic's fault. You can't just go out and keep signing players, Paul.
Oh, I know that, yeah. Yeah, but we should really have a plan in place, like.
But see, like what that Henry's agent or whatever it is saying. That's what Edward's agent should be coming out and saying.
Exactly.
He should be coming out in the press and pushing his. Do you know what I mean? Pushing it, just even
pushing. But the
Palace
thing, if you want him, that put in the bid, get him. He wants to come. He wants to leave.
But even if it's lies, like, oh, we've had a couple of offers for clubs that are really interested, that will give a boot in the bum to the teams that are maybe dithering. Do you get what?
That's what agents do, Mark, don't they?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Although he's working behind the scenes trying to do it, but he's in the game the way they play it these days. Do you know what I mean? But well, Celtic never really allow that. Maybe that's part of it. Celtic's kind of, do you know what I mean? They tell agents they've not to kind of do that in the press and Like,
Mhm.
it looks as if, I mean, we see it all the time when Morelos is linked to Porto and things like that. Do you know what I mean? It can blow up in their face and make
Unknown Japanese club.
uh,
Unknown Japanese club.
But
um,
if it's not that Henry, it'll be somebody else. That's just the way. That's the way I look at it.
You just need to look at Celtic's right back, the Aurelio, that Buta, then Juranovic, and now Koto. Celtic are not just going to have one target.
No,
And like it says, it might be the case that what we're in just now, other clubs are maybe waiting on getting another players before certain players of theirs can move on.
because there's no
Is
much happening in there, no Mikey at all in the transfer market anywhere.
But my
No.
shock, like you say, is regarding Celtic is the left back thing just now. Because we keep, all it's been is Buta, Juranovic, Koto. When was the last left back we were linked to?
yeah.
And that's, like I say, that's more a key position. I never thought I'd be saying that at the start of the season, but that's the key position that we need just now is left back.
I think I'm just saying the live chat there. I think the lad Scales is going to be coming in soon. What I'm hearing here, that will be done, and I think he will be the replacement for Taylor. I think he will be better than Taylor. But what
Is
the
he,
thing,
good, is he good enough to be so? First choice for Celtic for the season in Europe and that, if we're getting it.
see, that's the problem. That's the thing I have, because for Scottish football, I think he would be good enough, Mikey. Do you know what I mean? Because as Mark said there, Mark, you said to me, Mark, when I questioned it, and you said that a lot of the lower league clubs, Mark, would be similar to some of the League of Ireland clubs here, Mark, like your Dundees or Hamiltons or things, stuff like that. But he's never played, we say, Mark, at the quality that Celtic want to be, the Champions League, the Europa League. He's never played. Like, this lad hasn't even been called up to the Irish international team, and I said that he won't get looked at the international team, Mark, until he moves abroad. That seems to be the way of the Irish team. But he is better than Taylor, Mark, and he will get up and down the wing because he's fast. He's 6'4". He's fast and thing. But that's my concern: is he good enough to be the way Celtic want to be? And time will tell, Mark. Maybe he could learn. Look, we saw in the Ralston that he could turn into a great player, like what Ralston's turned into, a good player. So at the moment, he's better than what we have. But is he better than where we want to go? There's question marks there. Because I haven't seen enough of him to make that decision, Mikey. Do you know what I mean?
Another player that we were linked to, I remember the right back, he used to Ren, that Sasha Bowie that played for Galatasaray. He signed for Galatasaray the other night. I think that was certainly.
He could play left and right, Mikey. That fella, couldn't he?
I over the two legs, I watched. I was looking at him playing, and I was thinking, I thought Ralston was about 10 times better than him. That he scored in the first leg, the guy didn't get us wrong, but defensively he was rank rotten.
Yeah, because I was saying that to you, Mark, that when we were looking up Skpe, that he's 1-on-1 duels looked very poor, that he was kind of giving away a lot of free kicks as well and stuff like that, and not a good defender really, you know.
We need them. We do need them to be able to defend. No, I mean, it's different. Again, it's different in Scotland. Celtic spend a lot of time in the front foot, so you can get away with your defence being a wee bit if your fullback's not been very good at defending. But again, once you step up to Europe and that, it's us that are going to be on the back foot a lot of the time. So you're really relying on.
Can I just come back to? I just want to come back to Scales there, because Bobby's asking, and a few people have asked me. Barry texted me the other day about him, and people think just because Scales is 6'4" that he's a centre back. Like, he can play centre back, right? But he's mostly, and the position he played with Shamrock Rovers this season and since January when he signed last season, he mostly plays on the left wing back position role. That's the position. Like, he gets up, he gets forward, he scores goals as well. And Mike, you said as well that he scored a goal for Shamrock Rovers there the weekend that you were actually on the pod, Ross.
Yeah, he scored the one on 90.
Yeah. So he's preferred role as left wing, and that would suit the way Ange plays. But he can play, if Ange wants to go to a solid back four, he can play. He's comfortable left back, and he's comfortable on the left hand side of the back four as well in the centre. But mainly he prefers the left wing one. So
Just going back to like that Josip Juranovic that we've been linked to, and it's still looking like a possibility that he can come in. Like it says, that Jan Koto you're looking at. I think they're saying a $2 million loan fee plus wages. Why wouldn't you go and get a guy that's tried and tested at a couple of leagues he's played in now? In that Polish league, people can say what they want about it, but it's a hard league.
It's a tough league,
The fact that he still got on that Croatia national team tells me everything. But they've already said 3-4 million for him. Surely it makes sense to actually sign somebody permanently that you're going to make on in 2-3 years if he plays well, rather than just a loan fee again. No, I just don't like the loans are fine. Like Patrick Roberts was fine because, like I've said before, what was it, 2 seasons?
Robbie Keane, Craig Bellamy. See, that's for me, a loan player should be right. Patrick Roberts is a different kettle of fish. He was a young player, but he was at the time. What a talent he was.
A 2-year deal, Mark. So like that's what I mean.
But Mark, isn't that
Me, if you're going out and buying players and loaning players in, it should be players that are like you maybe wouldn't be able to normally get, like your Robbie Keanes and
able to afford.
Yeah.
But Mark, is that going back to a question that I mean you talked about, and that because Dominic McKay is actually only doing the job like is, or someone else helping him make these decisions, and someone has pointed out, look, we kind of went down this road before, we got a loan deal here, and it worked out for us. Is someone there putting that kind of influence into the backroom team?
No, but I'm just taking a big part of the recruitment himself, sir. If you're in for this Japanese guy, no, he's not.
Brazilian. This was Brazilian.
If you're in for the Brazilian boy, it's obvious Ange's sanctioned that.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to think he's sanctioned it. Do you get what I mean? It's telling us that he's playing a big part in the recruitment process and things like that. And again, I mean, I'm with Mikey. I'm flabbergasted with it. Why we'd go and spend £2 million on a player for a year when we could get an internationalist
it's like
for another. I mean, really,
it's going back to a quick fix again, Mark, isn't it? Like, and we're going to be down. We're going down to the same scenario where we're going to be next season. We're going to have to replace the right back position when we could have done it this year.
But the quick fix is to pay the extra million and a half and get a guy in a 5-year contract.
Yeah.
Rather than help Man City develop a player and then he goes back to Man City and they sell him for millions, or he gets into their team. Do you get what I mean?
Well, like he says, he's never. Kyle Walker, is, like he says, whether people want to say he's one of the best right backs in there. So he's never going to be dislodged anytime soon. So unless it was a 2-year loan deal, like Robert,
or even a buyback clause, then a
2-year loan deal, like a 2-year loan deal, then I wouldn't even pursue it. Like I say, because like what Mark says, loan players were notorious in the past for players you couldn't either pay the transfer fee for or the wages because they were at the price bracket, like Bellamy and Robbie Keane when they came in. Like I says, this guy's 19 years old. He's not going to break into the Man City team in the next 2-3 years. So how no push for a 2-year loan deal if that is the case? And that way you can actually get a better team together for the next 2 seasons.
Like it looks like that maybe he will be coming in as well because the fact that he was at the match last Thursday night.
That's another thing that annoys me as well. Like it's like this, you trying to borderline beg people to come to the club or come up to the game, see what the atmosphere like, see what you think about the place. Either want to come or no, or go back and play for Girona in Spain that average about 8,000 a game, 8,000 a week. Go and play for them again then. You shouldn't be begging, begging players to come out.
Why are we trying to sell Celtic to a Man City reserve? He's not even a reserve player, youth player.
That's what I mean, and that's what it's getting back to this again, that the worry as well, like I brought up in the past about Brazilians in Scotland and just settling into the country. You know what I mean? We've not had a good thing with Juninho and Raphael, mind. You know what I mean? That's the last thing we need is another one of them coming
in. Moving on, Michael Stewart said that the difference in 2 weeks in this Celtic team, he said the intensity, the movement off the ball, he said Celtic seem to be getting better and better each game we play on the Ange. And we touched on that, Mark, with Barry as well. Like, we seem to be getting better and better the more time we play with him.
Right, 100%. Well, you can see on the part every week, every game we're improving. And the Dundee game, right? If we said at the time,
Torn and corner, wasn't this?
It was right, fair dues. It was only Dundee, but the way Celtic performed there, they'd have tore apart any team in Scotland that day without a doubt. Any team in Scotland. And that was the biggest difference. I mean, see if what we'd seen a couple of weeks before that was some leap to that Dundee performance, and we just carried it on with that. There's been wee odd mistakes and things like that. Starfelt with the penalty of the day, things like that. But overall, his performance, I mean, it's not even night and day compared to under Lennon last year. It's like totally different planets we're on, Paul.
That's what he said, Mark, that it's bred through these Celtic players to move past, keep moving past, and he says it's bred into these lads night and day. And he said the difference, as you said there, Mark, that every player knows their job and they know what to do, and every player is not worried what another player is, because they all know what they're supposed to do on the pitch. You know, like, and it's evident that we're seeing improvements because of what Andrew's putting into the players, that every player actually knows, no matter what they're doing in the team.
And just think, Paul, once we get new signings in and things like that, think how good this team's going to be a couple of months down the line.
Like, it does make an awful difference, Mikey, that like, you can see that not only is Ange spending time with the players, but I'm feeling that he's spending time with players individually as well, and speaking to them and telling players individually what he wants from them, and you can see that benefit how a different manager in Ange and Linen, that he can spend one-on-one time with a player, you know.
Yeah, like you said at the start of the season when we're signing players like Abada, and that, it's proven already this season, you can't defend against pace. Celtic were always too slow in the last few seasons getting forward. And if you actually move the ball about quicker and get it out to the wide men that have got a bit of pace, then look what happens. You can't defend against it. And now you've got a striker in Kyogo that makes the runs. Like I said, you just can't defend it at all. Like I said, the quality that's came into the team. Like I said, when you've got pace defenders, that's any defender will tell you. That kind of pace running at you, it's always going to, like I said, it's not just the pace as well, it's the quality of the players that are running at you.
That's it, Mark. Like, we don't seem to have a player on the team at the moment, Mark, that's kind of spending too long on the ball. Like, it's all 1-2 touches max a player would have, and then he's pushing the ball on. Do you know what I mean? There's no dwelling on the ball. Yeah.
See, like players like McGregor.
Yeah.
Turnbull, Rogic, that's suits them. Do you know what I mean? All they be fun, just to be flicks to each other and things like that. I mean, when Hearts set up 5 against a 5 across the back, you're like, oh, here we go again. But last season, we wouldn't have been able to break them down. We'd have really struggled to break them down today. But this year, I mean, we've done 10 chances a day. The scoreline should, as we said earlier, it didn't reflect the match. You know what I mean?
Even, Mark, even if we played Dundee, I think, last season, Mark, no way would the scoreline have been 6-0. Do you know what I mean? It'd be 1, maybe 2, 3-0, and we would have been happy last season with a 2-0 win against the Dundee team.
That's it. You know? Just been a kind of run of the mill win. Do you know what I mean? We beat Dundee 2-0, but all season we'll get back and keep talking about that performance against Dundee, I think, because when we started to say here, this is starting to take shape. We're starting to see a bit of a difference here.
And one of the best things as well I noticed, Mark, in the team is, and Michael as well, that we're playing for each other. Every player is playing for the teammates and stuff. Like, there doesn't seem to be no rifts what we had last season. Do you know what I mean? Everyone seems to be on board. They're doing what the managers tell them. It just seems to be a whole happy environment around the first team at the moment, doesn't it?
Yeah, like you say, it's a special mention to this guy because I've wanted him out of the club for the last 2 years, but the difference in Tom Rogic is like all-round play. Like I said to Mark earlier on the phone before he even played today, it's the first time in years that I have actually looked forward to seeing him play. And
I think it's the first time in years that Rogic actually played 3 games in a row.
Like he says, and the actual quality, like his touches, like how he gets away with like some of the things that he does. Like, I don't know whether it's he's got a size 15 feet or whatever it is he's got, but he seems to always just glide and always manage to get the ball away from everybody.
But Mark, that's then going down to, as I said there, like that, Ange knowing his weaknesses and his the qualities of the players he has around him, that he's able to utilise Roger the way we know that Roger can play, and previous managers, and I'm going to put Brendan Rodgers in this too, Mark, that Brendan Rodgers didn't know how to use the skills of Roger Guyler, but now we have a manager who knows what Roger is doing, and he's utilising Roger's qualities to get these quick passes off that we should have been doing for years, maybe under Roger.
Aye, but as Mikey's saying there, he was that happy to see Rogic on the team sheet, but even look how happy Rogic seems to look now as well.
Fitness, Mark, fitness-wise as well with Roger, he looks slimmer.
I think I mean, we spoke about it when he turned down getting away with Australia and things like that, Paul, didn't he? He was staying to try and get his fitness. He definitely looks fitter and a lot leaner and more like muscular kind
Even his face, Mark, looks fresher and, don't he?
I mean, you know that the team was he getting fit to get a move, and then Ange got announced that the team have an inkling. I mean, what stage we were at with this?
I was thinking about that, and I'm at the impression, Mark, that maybe he knew that Ange was coming in, and he knew the style of play that Ange
knew this
played.
Start for him, maybe
a fresh start for him, and then he got him set. But like, does getting your fitness up, Mark? Does getting your? I think if Eddie Howe came in, we would have definitely have seen the old Roger. Do you know what I mean? We would have seen us. Yeah.
I don't think he'd have been here, to be honest, Paul.
And then for like,
his hair looks like velvet, didn't it? I'd love to have his head.
But Mark, even like his fitness levels has come on it to a different level, Mark. Do you know what I mean, Roger? Different level, and not just Roger, but the whole team just seems fizzle. Like
that wee kind of
they don't stop. Like I mean,
that wee yard shipper, Paul. We're always seem to be. I mean, they're playing that high pressing game, and I mean, with Hearts pinned back for long spells of that game, they could hardly even get out. They practically the full team sitting as their own defensive line. Just keeping them pinned back.
Going to Rogic as well, I think the major difference as well, and just Rogic is just having a manager that actually believes you can still do it. That'll make a massive difference to somebody that he knows and somebody that knows what he can do. But it's not like he says, let's face it, Lennon never really fancied him. Rodgers never really gave him much look either. But
do you even think, going back to Rodgers, Mikey, do you think Rodgers actually improved any of our players?
No.
But he bought players, Mark.
Aye,
do you know what I mean? Rodgers never looked at. We said that, Mark. Like everyone's putting the blame at maybe that there was no pathway to the Celtic team under Lennon, but the pathway from the Celtic team is stopped when Brendan Rodgers came in. No players would like people are forgetting like Callum McGregor, Tierney, and Forrest really, Mark, came in under Ronnie Dyla.
Aye, it was like.
You know what I mean?
It was
those young players were there, but before Rodgers came in, you know,
and that's probably held us back for years as well. But it was as if, like, right, we managed and coached the first team, but we're not actually coaching players to make them any better.
No, and that's what I said going back to Ange, Mark, that he, like, I really think that he sat down and talked to a player individually, Mark, and found out their style of their character, and you can see it, Mark, because Lennon and Rodgers couldn't get the best out of Tom Rogic. Do you know what I mean?
Even if Edward decided to sign a new long-term contract and stay at Celtic, Edward would become a better player under Ange than he would under Brendan Rodgers.
He come a face-up there as well, Mark, because you know what I mean.
You're getting Brendan Rodgers was more like just like buying a player to play the position, whereas Ange is more like he'll take. Look at young Ralston. You know what I mean? He's brought him on leaps and bounds kind of thing. For me, Rodgers isn't that type of manager. He left that to other folk to deal with.
Exactly. I just wanted to...
Poor coaching, Paul. That's all it is. These guys, for me, Rodgers, don't get us wrong, gave us some of our best times we'll ever know as a Celtic fan. But in the long term, behind the scenes, if you've a wee peek under the bonnet, was Rodgers that much in front of Lennon when it comes to like that kind of side of things, the coaching?
No, and you have to think of it too, Mark, like a lot of this passing back football too came under Rodgers as well, passing side to side, and
I mean, the last
hard
the
teams,
last-
Max.
the last
Yeah,
18 months under Roger.
we couldn't break down teams like that sat behind the ball either, could we?
No.
You know, we couldn't break them down. I just want to touch something here. David Gall there, the start thing. He said even lads did notice you were on. First half was breathtaking. After 60 minutes, we were knackered. But when we're up to full fitness, we were forced to be met with. But the difference, right? We did tire. And I noticed that we did tire for 60, 70 minutes, Mark. That thing, like you think. But the difference is, Mark, they're still going. They're still giving it. They're still trying to.
Still trying
Yeah,
their best.
they're not sitting back under
I mean, that's
what we did with Lennon, Mark. We conceded goals in the 67 minutes. Like the team just doesn't. It doesn't, and that's going back what he said, Mark, and his microphone thing. We don't stop. We stop for half time. And you can see, Mark, that in the Celtic team now that they don't stop for 90 minutes, Mark. Even though they're tired, Mark, they're still giving it their all.
It'll still take the players. I mean, Mikey and Barry will know more about this kind of thing than I will, but it'll still take the players a bit of time to get to the actual level of fitness that to play this high pressing game that Ange wants and to play it twice a week. Do you get what I mean? There'll still be the players will still not be as fit as Ange wants them to be, and the players themselves will know they're not quite as fit to do the job twice a week than now. So it's a wee kind of progression thing, isn't it, Mikey?
Yeah, like you say, you just need to look at last season. Look how unfit everybody looked. And I understand when people say that professional football players they should be looking after themselves. But there was obviously there was massive problems from we'll talk about any top to bottom anyway.
But Mackie said it like
Mikey,
just
finish here.
I was touching on him.
It was like you say, probably he says. But the new players coming in, you can already see the freshness and the difference. Look at and there's I'm not going to mention names. I've said in piece on it before, but guys wanting like Callum McGregor sold and that. What they saying now?
McGregor's really looking the part this season, and he really seems to be
Stepped up, Mark, didn't he?
I seen a wee video on it with Keating in at the huddle, one of the huddles he was doing, and you could see him getting right in about the players, and yeah, even the way he's playing fit. But I don't know whether it's where Scott Brown was because McGregor's no covering for his kind of lack of pace in that now. But McGregor's really, he's really going to be some player for us this season.
Like I've said in the past, and I'll still always stick to it. McGregor's still, and will be for the next few years, still one of the best midfielders in the UK. No. And he'd walk into most teams. That's how good he is.
I'd agree with that, Mikey. We've spoke about it before. He's kind of undervalued, although we all love him. We kind of think, but not many people put their neck in the line and say that, Mikey. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like you said, there's no way in his time at Celtic that he's no had offers to leave.
No.
Mark, it just shows it as well like that. When you're not covering for a player whose legs have gone, like I know now Scott Brown's a great and he gave us something. But McGregor, for not just last season, the season before as well, McGregor has been really trying to carry two positions when Scott Brown has been playing. And you can see it now, even with Scotland in the Euros, Mark, I said it to you, the difference in McGregor in the Euros because he didn't have Scott Brown next to him. And I'm seeing that now, like.
Mikey says Brown had a stinker in Aberdeen.
That's what I say. I try and watch all Scottish football when it's on TV and the cups and that.
I don't think Scott Brown, Mikey, would be able to keep up with Celtic when we play Aberdeen now.
Well, this is what I'm going to get onto the Garden and playing against Raith Rovers there. So Aberdeen went 1-0 up and then it went 1-1 just after the kick-off. It was about 50 minutes or something. So the Aberdeen manager Stephen Glass decided to bring on Scott Brown and a few other players to obviously supposedly get an injection into the squad. It actually backfired and slowed them down. And right after Scott Brown came on 5 minutes later, Raith Rovers scored again.
Jesus.
And Raith Rovers never even looked like conceding the whole thing. That, like I say, I respect Brown for what he did at Celtic, and he was a quality player and he was a great servant. But
he does slow you down, Mikey.
He's certainly Aberdeen's problem now, because that guy, if he was brutally honest with himself, shouldn't really be playing much this season, if any. I think he's better concentrating on coaching, because he's just going to damage any reputation that he's got. Like, I don't know what's happening. I understand that pace goes when you get older, but I mean, if Wraith Rovers players are bullying you off the bar and outpacing you and that, then that's no disrespect to Wraith Rovers, but they're also on 15 grand a week or whatever it is he's on at Aberdeen. So,
but it does, Mark. He did slow us down last season, and there'd be no way Scott Brown would fit into Ange's system if he stayed at the club.
He wouldn't have been. No, Scott Brown wouldn't have been able to. I don't even think Scott Brown would have got a starting position in Angie's team the way. Do you know what? We know that he trained like a demon and he was as fit as he could be, but he just couldn't be that fit.
Just touching on something there, Mikey said when Mark said I was interrupting him, but I really wasn't. I was just giving a point to us. He said about fitness levels, Mark, how unfit we were last season, but Ange actually came out and I think, Mark, it was really a dig at previous management like that, saying I'm going to be looking at backroom staff when the first team is sorted and maybe in the transfer close, I'd be looking at the sports science department and I'd be looking at the conditioning department. So there's straight away, Mark, two areas that were neglected last season to maybe why our first teams were so unfit last season, your sports science and your condition of players, Mark. You know?
The sports science guy left, didn't he? So, well, I don't know what that was about, but again, Paul, I don't think it was them that were doing the things wrong. I just think it was Lennon.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Mark. He wasn't, like he never monorised. Lennon kind of never moved with the times of football. Do you know what I mean? Like it's all data now, Mark, and it's all sports science. Like and sees that, like for Celtic to move forward, we need to improve in these areas to have the best players at their peak. You know.
Definitely. It's got, as I said before, if he can get 1% an advantage over his opponent, he's going to make sure that he can get it. Whereas I just wasn't interested in that side of things. It basically was. I mean, I said it in one of the other podcasts, was it when he used his manager or something, Beaton, put a picture of a hamburger up on his Instagram or something like that. I mean, the things like that, we all know. I mean, we all sit in the house and stuff our faces kind of thing, but we all know that how important diet and things like that are for professional athletes. It's because it's football, no? I mean, all these athletes are following all these strict diets to keep in the best shape they can. And down to sports science, how much rest time you get while you're doing it. And for me, Lennon just didn't. I think he was more like your old-fashioned kind of boot room manager, who get in ball and shout and hope that the players will do better. Whereas there was no coaching to show them better. I don't even think the players were getting. Now every player usually started under Ronnie, I think it was. They were all getting packs. This is before a game. It was a breakdown of everything, all their opponents and things like that. Videos to watch and things like that in their own time to study what they're going to be doing during games and things like that. That all went out the window with Lennon as well. And I think Ange's bringing that kind of thing back because it's a normal thing in football now. You get these packs that are all the information on your opposition, what your actual opposite, the player you're up against, all his things and videos and diagrams, all that kind of nonsense. And Lennon there's no way Lennon was spending the time to help put all that together.
No. Is there any negatives today about the match, Mike?
I mean, everybody knows that the defence still needs a bit of work, but if I were being honest about that again, that wasn't like, people look at the live scoring of 3-2. I mean, it could have been about 6 or 7 again. So that's where I'm not trying to look too much in negative. I look at the way the Celtic actually played. And like you says, if that Hearts team had set up like that last season, we wouldn't have won it. We wouldn't have got a draw at that game probably.
No.
They'd have hit us on the break and we would have got beat again. Well, so that we never ever looked like losing that game ever. Like I said, it could have been 6 or 7. The Hearts were lucky it wasn't 6 or 7 because Craig Gordon made a couple of good saves.
Well, Mark, those saves down to then Edward not being at his peak, and like these are things, Mark, we were saying about Edward last season as well, that he should be putting away these goals, and if maybe Kyogo was in there, he would have put them away, maybe.
But see, if Gordon was making these saves for us, we'd be saying they were great saves, rather than an Edward miss. Do you get what I mean? I do think it was just down to maybe Edward's like sharpness in that, Paul, and things
Mm-hmm.
that are obviously going on behind the scenes, whether he's staying, going and things like that. But I think an Edward, a flying Edward that we saw when he first came, he'd have stuck him away, no bother, I think. But as I said, if it was Craig Gordon making these saves, we'd be applauding the save. Wouldn't be saying the opposition player missed that.
Mm-hmm.
Touching on
What good saves for me, it really was.
No, especially the one from Callum McGregor, the one that's going up the top corner, like that was
A good
classic Craig Gordon save from what he used to make with Celtic. Like he did make good saves, and I give him that. But some of the shots, though, Mark, like Edouard was kind of hitting him off, and Edouard should have been putting them away. Do you know what I mean?
There was one that he tried to put it through the guy's legs and tried to beat Gordon at his near post, and kind of just even trundled by the post, wasn't it? That was a bad one.
Just touching on Ange again, and obviously Kyogo as well, and this is going to be a bit back on transfer. Is anybody no surprised that Postecoglou has maybe no identified maybe more players in that J League that might be a quality like fullbacks in that?
So we don't see that's it, Mikey. We don't know, like, you know what I mean. We actually, like, Kyogo came out of the blue, like, didn't he?
Yeah, and
you
there's
know
no
what I mean?
like says, and like I say, I'm certainly not an expert when it comes to Japanese football, but it's a better level than the Scottish Premier League.
The general standard will be higher in the Scottish League.
I think people would be very, very shocked at how physical it is as well. That's why I'm not worried about that Kyogo and getting kicked about in that, because I think people would be shocked if they actually seen some of the tackles that actually goes in that league over there. But there's surely got to be another, like you said, how much did we play for Kyogo? Does anybody actually know?
It's about the 4.5 mark, I think it was this.
I think it was something like that.
Yeah, something like that. You know,
Probably
like,
the biggest steal in history, is it?
yeah, but Mark, we're going by, like, we're only going by, like, that's why we call them gossip and rumours, like, because we're only going by what the media puts out these players, like, you know what I mean? We're only going by, but, like, Kyogo came out of nowhere, and that was really, he wasn't really on any kind of gossip and rumours we did, really. Like, so maybe Ange is buying his time, Mark, and we are looking at that market that Celtic haven't been looking. Like, Ange just really opened up a different market, Mark, to where we were looking at.
I think when you talk about things like that, but you're right with saying about Japan and that, but I think when you look at guys like Ange and Bielsa at Leeds and that, they've probably got players all over the world that they could. Do you get what I mean? Ange will know players all over the world that will be able to come in and do Celtic a job. Again, there'll be a lot of more red tape to get through to get them, but I think given time in that, there'll be more players that Ange will have identified and we'll never have heard of them kind of idea.
Like, it's opened up a different market that we haven't really been in before. Do you know what I mean? Like there's no point in looking at the Japanese newspapers because they're all in fucking Japanese. And I can't understand the thing what they're saying. So I'm not learning Japanese to look at transfer rumours. So just let you know that. Moving on to Wednesday night's game, we're up against AC Alkmaar. I didn't know much about them, but I looked them up. They didn't start their season too well. They lost 1-0 at the weekend against a team who only avoided relegation last season. But their style of play seems to be similar to what Ange is playing. He likes their wing backs to push up. They join the attack, so it's like two attackers on the wings at all times. My only concern there is Taylor. In this game, I think Taylor will be a massive weakness in this game, and it'd be a real test for the Celtic defence next week, Michael.
What I found interesting when they got beat for that RKC, I think it was Valvik.
Valvik, yeah.
Is before the game and the day before, their manager came out and said, "We've sold £35 million worth of talent, but I'll never use that as an excuse because we've still got a good squad." And as soon as they got hit for Valvik, in the interview after it, people were going, "Look up." He turned around and said, "Well, what do you expect when we've sell our best players?"
That him that was in the paper saying as well that he's got players in his squad that everybody in the world would be jealous or would love to have in their team or something.
Yeah, but like I said, they've got one player at the back. His name's Chun Koopmeiners,
Mm-hmm.
and he's been linked to Arsenal and that. But has anybody seen Arsenal recently?
Oh.
Like I say, that Coop Miners is a good player, but AZ Alkmaar are miles. People can hear looking now. I'm going on squads, miles away from Ajax and PSV.
And
Like I said,
was a captain on the bench last night, or
that,
whenever that was? He's meant to be leaving as well.
sorry, that was that Coop Miners.
All right, but did he start last night?
No, he came on after 60 minutes because he's in a dispute about getting a move away.
Right.
I said like
Yeah, they seem to be kind of more turmoil than anything, Mikey, don't they?
yeah. I said like at home on Wednesday.
Aye.
Mm-hmm.
Celtic can hear his game put to bed before even the return leg. I think if they come out with all guns blazing, especially with the crowd, I think people will actually forget sometimes how key the crowd will be in nights like that.
See, that's what myself and Mark was saying, that the first leg at home, Mark could give us a chance to get two goals back and kind of put the tie to dead. And as Mikey said there, like having the crowd back in again, it's going to be a major, especially now how good the team is playing and how the crowd are back in Ange, Mark. It could make an awful difference to this tie, you know.
Everybody comes to Celtic for a European night and they're blown away with it, Paul. So I don't doubt that Alkmaar will be the same. I'm with Mikey. I don't think it's as tough a task as people make it out to be, just because they finished so high in the Dutch league and because they're from Holland and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
What's even worse is I was meant to be going and now I can't go.
Is it?
I'll take the blame for that as well.
But Mark, will it?
Somebody's got to because something's going on here.
Will it be a test though for the defence? You mean, like, is it a step up, Mark? It's a step up to what we've played already in this.
What you said, Paul, Taylor's going to be the weak link, isn't he, really?
Mm-hmm.
It's a step up if you let them settle. But like I says, if Celtic just start the way they did against Dundee, I'm not comparing Dundee to AZ Alkmaar. Obviously, AZ Alkmaar are a lot better side. But again, like the manager said, they've sold nearly everybody, other than one of the captain that they're in dispute as well. They're still got good players, but they're the kind of team that'll come to Park. They'll know experienced anything like that before.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, see if Celtic get an early goal against them. Like it says, they can hear that game put to bed well before the return leg.
And it's just you just don't let them settle into their rhythm, into it.
See, Mark, that's it, Mark. Like, if Celtic go by Ange, Mark, he's not going to change his style to play for no team. Do you know what I mean? So, like, they're going to try to press Celtic, and Celtic are going to try to press them. But Celtic need to get that done first, press them back, and let them open up the space then for Celtic to get all tackles out. That's the way. I think this is going to be a game that's going to have so much space, Mark, that there's an opportunity for Celtic to get goals because they do a high press as well, Mark. And with our tackles there, Mark, we should be able to exploit the space that's going to be given to us. You know what I mean? We're not going to be playing against a Hearts team who are going to sit back, or we're not going to be. Do you know what I mean? There's going to be space for our attacking team. Do you know what I mean?
Well, we know that we've got the players that can do that now.
Yeah.
Space there, we're going to exploit it.
Exactly.
Abada, I think, will be a massive key. But if he's missing on Wednesday, that'll be an absolute sickener. Like I know Forrest is a good player in that, but that young guy's a different level just now.
He does seem to be, and I've noticed the last two games there seems to be something missing, Mark, on the right hand side for when Forrest plays and Abada's not playing, doesn't there?
We spoke about it earlier on. It's just Forrest doesn't have the pace to be effective at getting hit the byline, and he keeps.
It'll be a game like that would suit Abada, like, you know, the space that he has there to run into and everything, you know. In Kyogo as well, Mark, wouldn't it?
That's what we're saying. It's like the guy you don't expect it, Paul. If you're a defender and you're up against James Forrest, you know that 9 times
he's going to cross in.
To cut inside on you. Whereas with Abada, Kyogo out on the left, they can come in. They can come inside or they can go outside. They can tie you up in knots, basically. Do you know what I mean?
Do you think so, Mark? That going by what you said there, I'm not going to refer to you. I'm refer like James Forrest in the Scottish League now, right? That opposition teams know that James Forrest won't try to outrun you. He'll try to cut in, and that's where we're actually losing out in Abada, that, as you said, that you don't know what he's going to do. He's going to cut in, or is he going to be in the left? Is he going to be in the right? That Forrest is so predictable now back that didn't know that.
That's the word, Paul. Predictable. Everything. That was one of the things with Celtic last year. Everything was just
Predictable.
predictable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, don't get Forrest. I mean, he's just coming back for a long layoff.
A long-time injury.
Well,
Yeah.
he's still maybe getting a wee bit up to speed. And
plus, Mark, he missed pre-season as well, really, didn't he?
I mean,
You know,
I've no doubt that Forrest will play a big part in the season for us. Just the amount of games we played, the way Ange wants players that are at the top of their fitness in their game to be playing. So I mean, wait and see how he's doing in 3 or 4 months. No, but I mean, Paul, once everything settled down. Not like just write the guy off, do you know what I mean? I'm not wanting to just write the guy off, but I agree with Mikey. He's no better. He's nowhere near as good as Abada. He really is.
I think the problem that Forrest has got just now, and I think most people would agree, other than striker, the players that are the quickest on the pitch are the fullbacks. And the fact that Forrest has lost clearly a yard of pace, defenders will know they've got the beat. Whilst with Abada, there's not going to be many people quicker than him. So whether he comes inside or goes on the outside, he's already got them done up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, say, I think Forrest.
It's frightening, isn't it? It really is.
Yeah.
Well, Forrest is a quality player, and he is, like you say, other than this cutting in with the outside of the foot stuff. And he'll still have a big part to play, but like he says, he's lost that yard, and defenders know that.
It's not just that, Mark, because Barry was even surprised too, like when we told him his age. Like, this lad's only 19.
I know.
Do you know what I mean? And for him, like it's the confidence, Mark, that I'm impressed with. Like that, he's so confident, Mark, in his own ability at such a young age that he knows that he's going to outrun the fullback. Do you know what I mean? And he knows his strengths. Do you know what I mean? Like, for a 19-year-old back, he's only going to get better and better.
Exactly. It's his first game, Paul. He looked at there for years.
Years.
Flipped right into the team. Same with Kai.
And that's what the best clip. And as you said, Mark, we were always looking for these players who can just come into the team and the Mark just make the team better.
I mean, you're expecting it for Joe Hart and McCarthy.
Yeah, but not a 19-year-old.
I know, you're not
expecting a
19-year-old coming to a new country, new team.
Yeah.
I don't know, does he speak English?
No.
I don't know, like El Hamid, Mark, like I know he had family and stuff like that, but he couldn't settle in. It took him a while to settle down, Mark, and he still kind of made mistakes when we thought he was settled down. But like, this fella had just came in and just hit the ground running, and it's unfortunate that he picked up a knock because the team were just kind of really settling together with him in the squad. We actually could see the full effect of what Ange's attacking system was like when we had Abada in the team, I
think one of the key things about Abada, and it's the 5-year deal he's on.
Mm-hmm.
That's just music to my ears. Even seeing him after people say, "Oh, well, he's only just signed in that." I've seen enough. They say the fact that they managed to get him with the quality he is on a 5-year deal tied down, that's key. And they've got Kyle. I think Kyogo's 4.5-year deal as well. It's about time that actually started putting a bit of faith in signings rather than saying like maybe there's a 2-year deal, and then with the option of a third in that. Like he says, the 19-year-old 5-year deal, that's that position, like say, tied down for the next, like say, 5 years, is it?
We're getting absolutely crazy money for him, isn't it? It's either we've got a cracking player in that position or we're going to sell him on for crazy money.
Exactly.
Remember the guy that was on about the last time, that the guy at Shakhtar, that Solomon, the other Israeli guy. I think Shakhtar are wanting nearly 50 million for him.
I think it's Mark, you said that too during the last podcast, Mark, that it could be a matter of time when we see a player being sold by Celtic for 50 million the way the transfer market is going now. No
doubt about it. There is, and just the same, Paul, we said, can you imagine so long ago Celtic selling a player for 20 million?
No, exactly.
20 million with Tierney. Then you go to the other extent, can you imagine Celtic spending £9 million on a player?
Yeah.
I mean, so we're always going to be like the bottom of the ladder kind of idea, but the prices will go up. See, when it's like, I mean, it's like a normal fee down in England now, you're talking 80 to £100 million for a player. Whereas up here, they now we're talking about like your 20 to 25 million pounds. And if you a few years' time, the way if this money keeps going about football the way it is, the normal fees in England will be like 120 to 150 million, and then Celtic will move up to like the 40 to 50 million bracket. Okay,
So,
the natural progression of the money side, it'll
yeah, it kind of rolls down the ladder, Mark, don't it? Yeah, it rolls down the ladder, like, don't it? Starting lineup predictions, lads. If Abada's fit, did you see Forrest and maybe Edward slipping out, and maybe Forrest going off to the left and Abad on the right, and maybe Edward going out?
Depends on the Christie situation, does it?
Mm-hmm.
Like it says, it depends on the rumours now, because based on the form that he's in, if he was available, I'd certainly start him on the left. And if Abada's fit, which it looks like he will be, he'd be on the right and Kyle will go through the middle and Edward would be dropped.
I think that's a big question, like, isn't it, that, and it's a pity that we're going back to that again, Mark, isn't it, that, like, we were so comfortable saying that we don't miss Edward, we don't want him, and now we're saying will he be dropped again the next game, do you know what I mean, because of injuries that Edward might be starting again, you know?
I think he'll be dropped. But again, it depends on fitness of other players. But I'd start Abada, put Kyogo back in through the middle, and
I think like what you raised with it, if Christie is missing, then it'll be Forrest that'll probably get put back on the left.
it will be, won't it?
So, which I didn't mind because he cuts in anyway.
But
He cuts in anyway.
left hand side of Taylor and Forrest. Does it fill you with confidence, that, didn't it? No.
Bobby Sunderland is saying there that Ange has confirmed most likely Christie won't make Wednesday. So is it an injury, or we don't know, like, is it an injury, or has their bid been made? Just kind of have to wait and see the next couple of days, isn't it?
Well, that's fine. If the bid has been made, then it's obvious he's away. As long as Celtic, like it says, we've said it before, if it is Lovrich or somebody like that, then that's fine. As long as they've got a...
Do you think Montgomery might come in there? That he came on today out on the left in an advanced role, and Montgomery has
left wing,
and he played there as well in pre-season, and look, I give Montgomery, like, he can cross the ball and he has pace, you know, and anytime he's come in, he hasn't done nothing wrong really either, Mark, has he?
No,
Montgomery?
not showed up well. You can't fault a young lad. For any time he's been called on, he's put in a good shift and he's not let himself down.
You know, so he could be a shout there as well, like, you know, Montgomery.
I think Angel 100% go Bada fit, but I still think I think they're more likely to drop Forrest, put Kyle on the left and keep Edward through the middle.
Could be, you know, and I think we're not going to be. The only thing with that was as well, we're not going to be as fluent, Mark. Are we with Edward up there again, like?
Unless Lovrich has got to be one of the wild card signings, Mikey.
I mean, if they've got any aspirations to go and progress in Europe, and I think over 2 legs they will go through against AZ. Like, like if they want a decent run in this competition, there's no too many players off doing it. And I never thought I'd be saying that 2-3 weeks ago.
No, you're looking at the squad now, all right, and we were all saying we're in dire straits and stuff like that, and players, Mark, who we had written off, like we'd written off Radisson, we'd written off Tom Rogic, do you know what I mean? And we'd written off.
Paul shows you what good coaching can do, but
yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, the squad really, Mark, isn't as half bad as we think, though, is it?
Oh, and this is all completely 100% down to Big Ange. I mean, for the basic time that
he's been here,
look at the difference in the team already. I've said that before. It's exciting times for Celtic, you know. If we keep getting players in that want to play for Ange and play the way he wants to play, it really it could turn out to be a masterstroke appointing Ange for Celtic. It really could.
Yeah, because Mike the Stewart said it like that. In the space of 2 weeks, like how these lads know their movements off the ball, their faster passing, and he came out and he said himself, like, every time this Celtic team is spending with Ange, he says he's seeing improvements and we're seeing it too, Mark. We're seeing improvements every single time these players have been spending with Ange, you know?
Aye. Improvements as a team, improvements with like individual players. I mean, it's the football Celtic's play. I said it the other night. Some of the best football I've seen at Celtic for Tommy.
For a long time, Mark. It really has, like, and
think a lot of people would probably listening in that have never listened in the past about, like, they'll hear us going on about like Ralston and Rogic and players like that have been written off and that. They weren't written off just because.
Mikey, do you remember when the season finished? We all did players who'd be gone, and we really, Mark, we were down to our bare bones, like. But we had Ralston, Roger, we had all them gone, like, you know, all of them gone.
We had to be right though to actually think
did.
like that, because the way they performed, it wasn't like it was off the handle, like, oh, he's in one bad game, that we're wanting him out. I mean,
no, it was knee-jerk reactions phase, Mikey. We thought about it and watched them.
Yeah, but that's going down to Denmark. That if we did had appointed Howie, we wouldn't have seen this improvement in these players. No. If Eddie Howe was the manager, we would. I don't think we would have seen it. It's just the way Ange programs things into people, and the way his management is, Mark. The way even even the way he speaks to the press, Mark. I mean, he's everything down to a T.
Doesn't take much snatch for the press. If it's a bit wide with him, he's always got a wee quip to bat them away with, hasn't he?
Exactly, because I remember against in the All Black game, he was asked about the penalty between Abada and Edward, and he turned around, you managed to find something negative.
Aye.
He said, is that all you were looking at, was trying to find something negative after that performance? Do you know? And he just brushed it off, didn't he? Wasn't entertaining, Mark. And that's good management, isn't it?
But that's, it's probably, I mean, we went on about that guy at the first fan media thing, the way you came out with it and that, but behind the scenes, somebody will have fault Ange in what the press is like up here.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll have known, even for reading the papers or going on the internet himself, he'll see the kind of imbalance of the way things are reported between us and Rangers. The way things are a negative for us, but this exact same thing can happen to Rangers and be seen as a positive for them. And I think he's intelligent enough to see that and know that he's been about the game long enough to know the games that media play all over the world. So it deals with all that side. I mean, he's better at Lennon even. I mean, Lennon came across as like a bit of a stroppy child at times.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to look at Lennon's comments recently in the press about himself. That shows you actually what he's actually like as a person deep down.
Lennon would come out and he wasn't trying to be a smart arse with the press. He was like sneering at them, and you're always going to get their back up if you're like that kind of person with them. I mean, Ange's coming across with these wee put downs, but he's got a smile on his face saying them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
You need to realise as well.
That's surly. You know what I mean? Lennon was portrayed this kind of surly figure, wasn't he? And Ange, they can't portray Ange like that because you can just see it in his interviews.
I think people need to realise as well the pressure that guy's been under managing Australia and that as well. I mean, it's not like he's not managed anybody big in the past.
I think everyone
saying that. Like, the pressure he dealt with as Australia manager.
Exactly.
That was some pressure he was under.
They were all against him, weren't they? Because he got
to that's right, yeah.
Boy's eye, and he stuck by his guns and get proved.
That too.
And imagine as well the Japanese press, aren't they? I mean, they've got like millions of papers and that out there, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just like I said, I don't think people will just look at the Japanese league right away and automatically go, dire, stinking, wouldn't decide. I remember, how many people would have thought when that Kyogo came in, or some of the old guys maybe in that, and thought, he would go, look. You know what I mean? Just signing guys that I've never heard of that now, look.
A lot of the young ones would as well, Mikey, because Japanese league must be shite, it's not on the telly.
Exactly.
No, he had the young ones that were playing for Eddie
But that was the best comment that came out of the game, Mark, wasn't it, when they asked him about Hearts in the first, like, he says, man, I wasn't living on the moon.
I know.
Do you know what I mean? I watch football night and day. Do you know what I mean? You know, like, that's the problem, like, if it's not the telly, Mark, it doesn't exist, really, isn't it?
We think Joe Hart, even on here, some of the comments about him. Look at the difference he's made at the back and just general communication alone. Never mind saves or that.
Exactly.
Like you say,
saves the other night, either Bacchus or Bain would have get near them.
Well, we said that, Mark. They would have been goals, but I know he could be faulted for the goals today. They were bad. Like,
it was a penalty, and
they still seem to be weak at the back, Mark, don't we? We're still making these kind of stupid. Like, that was a bad mistimed tackle by Starfelt today, wasn't it?
The boy was just too quick for him.
Mm-hmm.
He's a bit longer than the ball. No, I mean, it wasn't as if he tried to kick the guy. He was trying to kick the ball. The boy stole the ball. So
Mm-hmm.
it's again just Starfield will come good. He
Well,
will.
look at the like. I don't want to pick on referees not again, but that's beating's a clown anyway. But no, that was a clear penalty in the first half to Celtic as well when it hit the boy's hand. I think that's been under the and people say, "Oh, it was too close." I wasn't there close enough, and the boy's arm was extended away from his body. Basically,
But you see him giving in other leagues. Do you know what I mean? You see him giving. Do you know what I mean?
See them giving in our league another game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
like,
You know,
if that we had VAR, that was 100% a penalty.
like his hand, like they're saying, if your hand is in an unrealistic position, so like his hands are up above his head, like so how is that not an unrealistic position from his where he was clearly going there to block the ball? Do you know what I mean?
And like I say, I think we mentioned before, but that Ginelli as well. Edward did dive in the first half. I'm not saying he's not, but that Ginelli did it right at the start of the second half.
Yeah,
well.
that's what I said. Like,
Just
why
what we've
wasn't
done.
he booked? Like, why wasn't he booked, Mikey? Do you know what I mean? Like, Michael Stewart actually said that. What was the difference? What was the difference between Edward and Ting? Why wasn't Ginelli booked, Mark? Do you know what I mean? You know,
Aye.
it just shows the more so beat on. Like, I think Celtic really need to score 3-4 goals when beat on is ref in the games, because if it's 2-1, Mark, more than likely he's going to give a chance to level up a game. You know, I really think that would be on.
Allowed to referee. He shouldn't be allowed to referee Celtic or Rangers games.
Especially the way he is, Mark.
Aye.
Especially the way he is, Mark, and he's outspoken about his love for Rangers. Do you know what I mean? Like going on a podcast with fucking Alan Haldy and Bobby Madden there not so long ago, himself beats on Bobby Madden on a podcast. Do you know what I mean? That shouldn't be left. Like you wouldn't see it nowhere else.
Jack Grealish has had accused that Lucas Moura of diving. I think the irony in that.
That's what I was laughing at. The actual irony in that statement.
Oh, he's come out.
It's only £100 million player in Sky Sports, £100 million, and the best thing they can come up with about him is his start in the Premier League was he was the most fouled player last season.
Was that all they could come up with?
That was that was the key stat on his move to Man City. He was the most fouled player.
And what does that do? I mean, what does that mean? Really? We'll sign him for £100 million. Doesn't matter how many goals he scored. He wins some amount of fouls. See the first way my toe.
Like I don't think like, and I'm a great believer in it. Like and think like people. Edward is not at Guardiola. Guardiola for me, he overthinks things too much as a manager, and for him to think he's going to win the league without an out striker, I just can't see it. You know.
But remember, everybody goes on to Guardiola like that. I'm not saying that he's obviously got something, but he took over Barcelona when they had Puyol, Xavi, Iniesta, and Messi and the prime. He then went to Bayern Munich after the guy won the treble with him. Couldn't even win the Champions League with them, and like one horse race. Then he's went to Man City, and how much money has he spent?
Yeah, he overthinks things, and it was the same with the Champions League final. He overthinked his
But see, really,
his line-up.
See Barcelona. See the way they're set up throughout the club. I think anybody really could. I'm not saying somebody like us, but any kind of half decent coach could go in and win stuff with Barcelona because.
Not now, anyway.
In 2010, the players that they had.
Aye.
Exactly. Anybody could have went in there that was half decent as a manager and won everything.
Aye. And just even the way the club was all set up, because the players that are all learning at a young age to play the Barcelona way, and they're all coming through and they're all top-notch players. So really, what is he doing as a manager or a coach apart from just picking players?
How times have changed, Mark, when Messi is actually staying with Ramos in Spain at the in France at the moment. He's actually staying in Ramos's apartment at the moment. Messi, like how many battles did those two guys have? Do you know what I mean?
Money talk.
Ramos is my opinion, other than Chiellini, probably is
best defender.
My lifetime.
Yeah.
You don't get many players like him, and he had. I think he must have had 30.
You have to love him. You have to love him.
20 of them were against Messi himself, but like he says, I think for a defender to score like over 100 goals. That's some going, is it?
I tell you, if Paris Saint-Germain don't win the Champions League this year, there's some serious questions about that club in there. You know?
Like you say, you've got Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe running at you. I mean,
But
that's one.
every season people say that. Who at the beginning of last season would have said Chelsea would win the Champions League?
Mm-hmm.
I think, like you said, obviously, man, if you've got your opinions on him, but I just think Messi's a different beast altogether. Like,
You know, but it's the difference. Like one-off games, two tricky games, though. Mark,
No,
aren't
no.
they? One-off games are tricky games, though. Do you know what I mean? They are tricky games, like one-off games. You know.
That's just. I mean, it's like any cup game, right? But I mean, we're not moaning about it, but we lost 2 goals a day that were avoidable goals. But as in a cup game, the main thing is you get to get through to the next round.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean. The performance in the first 60 minutes was good enough anyway. Like it says, if anybody looked and watched the game with any form of football and brain, the game could have been 6 or 7. And that was about Christie playing, that was about Abada playing. I mean, that's why it is still an unsettled back four.
Like that's the main thing. Like that, the scoreline doesn't reflect on what we were watching today. Like, I mean, we should have been out of sight. Do you know what I mean?
Like it says, when we first played them in the first game, as bad as Celtic were, and I was speaking to Mark earlier about this, and Celtic were stinking, they still should have easily won the game at Tynecastle.
Aye.
Mm-hmm.
And if they take the chances, if that team like Kyogo would only been in the country, what, how many hours before he needed to come on for 15 minutes?
Aye, 10 minutes when
I mean, Scott Sinclair came to England. There was a big bit of difference in travel when he came and scored that late winner that time. So,
what's the big improvement you saw so far in the Celtic team under Ange? Mark?
And pace. Like you said, people hear me talk about pace all the time, but it's a common knowledge in football. If you've got pace and width and quality players, then you're going to win games and you're going to score goals.
Do you agree with that, Mark? Yeah.
I'd agree with that. Also, even about the application of the players, Paul, the effort the players are putting in, that's a big.
It's a collective team, Mark, isn't this? You know what I mean? Like it's
playing as a unit, playing as a team. But it's just as Mikey says, the pacing, just moving the ball quicker. Do you know what I mean? To be sideway passes when you're. Do you know what I mean? You're 18 years for your own 18-yard line. You're passing it 2 years to a guy at your right hand side, and then just getting the ball back. You know, that was pointless. Get the ball, get it fast, get it up the park. Do you know what I mean? Mikey says pace. The pace that he's put into a team that is a big factor.
Players key thing today.
Working.
I didn't want to go on about him too much, but Scott Brown again today. This was a prime example of the day how Celtic fans were like, "Oh, was it a mistake letting him go?" The day we had Sorrow on the bench and James McCarthy on the bench. Where was Scott Brown this season ever going to fit in, even on the bench? Never mind starting. He wouldn't even got near the squad. That's
but I
why
think as well, like we were saying as well that with Barry the last time, Ange will know when he needs to put in Zorro or McCarthy to tighten up that defence when he's up against tough, like different opposition. I mean, like we don't have to be playing 2 defensive midfielders every game in Scottish football. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's what I like about Ange, and you hit the nail on the head there. He knows when he'll need to. And going back to another manager, Brendan Rodgers, who just thought he can play the same way he could against Partick Thistle, against Paris Saint-Germain at the Parc de France and get pumped 7. I mean, there's certain teams you come up against that you need to know like what your level is. Sometimes you just need to dig in and get an extra couple of players in the midfield and in defence. But Ange looks like he's able to do that.
Did you see that that impersonator there that he was doing Brendan Rodgers when he signed for Leicester and they were nearly qualified for the Champions League, and he said, "Oh, he loves the Champions League. Anytime I managed in the Champions League, there was always goals." And he's like, "Yeah, but there was goals scored against me, but they were beautiful goals to watch." You know what I mean?
Well, I think what a lot of people forget under Rodgers, and he did well for them, but the way he left will always tarnish that. But we got some of our worst defeats in Europe under him. Shocking results like. That was what we've been on in the past. I don't think the podcast was like this when we were on about the embarrassment. Like, you didn't want to be in the Champions League, yeah. Like, you used to enjoy playing against Bayern Munich and AC Milan and that. But
I say, Mikey, you're like a dirty old tour at some bus station in Glasgow. You're just accepting a pumping for because you're getting the money.
You know what I mean, like back in the early 2000s.
Never accept Celtic getting beat just because you're getting £30 million at the end of 6 drubbins, do you know what I mean?
Still hurts, Mark, don't this? It
Back in
hurts
the-
bad
back
when you're
in the
getting
early
bad, like,
2000s.
because everyone is watching the Champions League and you're seeing your club getting beaten 6-7-0. There's no joy in that. Do you know what I mean?
Back in the early 2000s and mid 2000s under Gordon Strachan and Martin O'Neill, everybody would confidently say on here that every home game we went into, no matter who it was, we had a well above average chance of beating them, no matter who they were.
And Liam Quinn is saying the same as you there now as well, that Bron was actually very poor today. You know, like we could actually see it, Mark, like that. Like how slow we actually were last season, like, do you know what I mean? Compared to where we are now, like how actually bad we were last season. Do you know what I mean?
But that's
You know,
as well, Paul. See, even with Brown in the team, it should have still been Cal McGregor that was pulling the strings.
and it wasn't.
It was,
Yeah.
it was always Scott Brown that was kind of running the show, and I mean,
Mm-hmm.
well, it's night and day, even the type of players that they were. But there was no Herman Brown being in the team if McGregor was doing what he should be doing, which is running the show and pulling the strings for midfield.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not, again, you can't fault Scott Brown for what he gave to the club and things like that, but for me, it stayed on a wee bit too long. And I mean, good luck to a guy at Aberdeen. I hope he goes on to have a good managerial career or coaching career, whatever road he goes down. But I'm
But
glad
that was going back to a manager, Mark, that was back in his buddies. Do you know what I mean? Back in his buddies, like, you know what I mean?
Or maybe
Yeah.
maybe looking at the guys that he, maybe looking at guys that he trusted to pull him out a hole. You could look at it even that way.
Mm.
I'll put a question to you and to Mark and you, Paul. Do you ever see Scott Brown coming back to be in any form of coaching or management capacity at Celtic?
No,
Ever in his whole career?
no.
I don't think so, because
I
the
think
way we're going to move forward, and we're not going to be the same team as what Scott Brown is used to. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to be going back to passing the ball back, like because that's what Scott Brown did. He passed the ball back. You never saw Scott Brown really passing the ball forward, did you? It was always back, side to side.
the only way I could see him coming back in any kind of coaching thing would be if he kind of shines out, see like the kids with like academy level or something like that, and we bring him back like that. But this talk, I mean, there was talk about him when he left. Oh, he'll come back one day, he'll be our manager and all that. That's never going to happen. Celtic's
I never.
But Mac, I think I think, and I'm a big believer in it, like, you know, and stuff like that. Like, if you had success with a club, never come back for a second time, you know. And Lee Lennon should have never came back to Celtic the second time, you know. And I think Scott Brown should just let his legacy, the way it was as a great Celtic midfielder.
teams that Tommy Burns come back.
Well, Tommy Bonds came back, Mac, and he improved stuff.
What?
Do you know what I mean? Tommy Bonds came back and he improved stuff.
Oh,
He improved the academy. He improved his team. But fucking Neil Lennon should never came back after he left in a high. He should. I'm saying if you leave in a high, you should let it in a high. Do you know what I mean?
I think with Neil Lennon and what I agreed with was I was quite happy to see him jump into the role when Rodgers did his rap and run off. But at the
And
end
that
of
should
that
be
season,
it.
that should have been when ties were.
in a way, we were lucky he was out of job at that time.
Yeah,
Do you know
that
what?
was right. But
Who would have took her then? It would have been Kennedy, wouldn't it? Really? Because
you would have looked at the his first game.
we were never going to go out and get a manager at that point in the season, so it would have probably been Kennedy.
That's where it should have been left then, Mark, shouldn't this?
But for him to get the job after that was just that's what, to me, that's what kind of that was the final nail in Peter Lawwell's coffin. I think that was, to me, that was Lawwell's.
Because I knew it. The minute I saw Neil Lennon getting the job, I knew that Celtic were going to struggle. Do you know what I mean? And like, it was always under Neil Lennon. It was the fear for the next fucking game, really, wasn't it? Sorry for the language. It was the fear of the next game. Do you know what I mean? Like, as of now, you have an excitement.
You
Do you know what I mean?
you were
Yeah, you were dreading it, Mark. Yeah, you were dreading it. Do you know what I mean?
because even the games we were winning, Paul, it was turgid. It was turgid.
Yeah.
Oh, it was horrible to watch.
You
Even
just need to look at his first.
chats was just constant moaning, constant negativity.
And you see the different buzz now, Mark. Do you know what I mean? Even live chat, even on the forum. Do you know what I mean?
There's still the usual suspects that like a moan, no matter what happens, or always get something to moan about. But the general feeling amongst the Celtic support is through the roof compared to where we were 6-7 weeks ago.
And
Well,
that's
like
just
he says,
really
after
down
that
to one man.
After that Hearts game, when they got better Tynecastle, even though they should have won the game. Like, I think I wasn't confident going into that game anyway, but the mood after that game was like, look at what everybody was feeling compared to what they're feeling now. What was that, 2 weeks ago?
But it's just overreaction as well with them, really, Mikey, isn't it?
Yeah, well, everybody looked at the game, and like I said obviously beforehand, a bit tongue in cheek that I thought Hearts was going to win, but like you've got to look at the game that they lost.
You can't fault Celtic's overall performance in that.
You can't really, well, you say if they put away their chances, then it could have been the same. 5 or 6. Got
Just
2-1.
playing a striker who it's all down to playing a striker who the uncertainty still is he going to stay, is he going to go? Do you know what I mean? You know, and Edward should have taken his chances against Hearts as well in the first game. Do you know what I mean? We should have been out of sight in that game as well, really. Like, you know what I mean? The first game. You know what I mean?
We'll not get away with this. Like I've said to AZ, they've obviously lost, and it's ironic what the manager says before the game at the weekend. Doesn't matter then after it. Well, it doesn't matter now. If Celtic will need to take that, they'll not get away with that on Wednesday against them. They'll need to take their chances.
That's it. Yeah.
Learning excuse, isn't it? But that Alkmaar boss has done, you'd expect
Like you say, what?
to do that, wouldn't you?
Oh, like you said, he was asked. We've lost £35 million of talent, but we've still got quality players here, so that's not an excuse. Bet 1-0. Well, what do you expect? Because we've lost our good players. I mean,
Yeah, we really need to take our chances, Mark, next week. Like, you know what I mean? We really need to score the basic goals that you expect Edward or any Celtic player to be scoring. Do you know what I mean?
But
I think it's a game that we need to score next week, you know?
we need to, definitely, I wouldn't like to go there with a 1-0 with like a nothing each of that, Paul.
I don't think it will.
No,
Like that boy that they've got at the back for them that used to play for Stoke, and that his name was that Bruno Martins Indy. He's honking like he's stinking like he's like a week in jail slow like
I see.
So
You'll go through the middle.
yeah, that's what I mean.
Or the top of him.
There's no way that the Celtic, whoever scouted, because there would have been somebody at that game probably at the weekend, has no looked at that guy at the back, that Bruno Martins Indy, and like that's like, could they look at Taylor definitely and say Celtic will be doing exactly the same at their defence, and that centre back they've got so bad. I don't even know how old he is now, but even at Stoke he was stinking when they were in the Premier League.
You know, I think it's key that Kyogo plays instead of Edward. You know, I think that's key. I think that could be an awful difference in the game. I could be wrong. Edward could be magnificent for us. How many times have I said that, Mark? Do you know what I mean?
Boss said that.
You know?
If he does start, and could be his last game, he maybe turn it on.
Yeah. Should we said, Mark, we said before the Michelin game, we can understand why he's played Edward, because Edward would get you a goal, but he didn't get it. Do you know what I mean? You don't know what Edward did. He's like, what Edward is going to turn up for Celtic anytime, and that's the main issue for me. Like that, we don't know. Do you know what I mean?
We've not seen the real Edward for a long time, but
No.
we really haven't.
You know.
I mean, I'm not saying waste some amount of time. Obviously, we're talking, but we do spend some amount of time talking about him.
Because that's the uncertainty that's there. Do you know what I mean? Like, I prefer for him or his agent to come out and say, look, I don't want to be here, I want to leave. And then Ange has decision then, I won't play here. If you want to leave, get your agent to find you a club to listen. Do you mean that's the problem? Because Ange was saying, Mark, he only wants to play with players who want to be here. And we don't know what discussions Ange has been having with Edward at the moment, or what he's seen in Edward. But for me,
he's not any effect on him really, has he, Paul?
No, and that's what I'm saying, Mark, that it's key that
you would say that hasn't
clicked on, yeah, because that's what I was saying, Mark, that he's the one player that the minute Kyogo came in, Edward was dropped straight away. So Ange must have saw that he can't play his full system with Edward in the team, because he was dropped like minute Kyogo came in, and it was only down to injuries today or whatever the situation with Christie, he was in the team. Do you know?
Well, it might be because of the Christie situation. it was a case of, oh, well, I need to play Kyogo out in the left.
I think if Fabian was fit, Forrest would have probably been played on the left, and Eduardo, I think it's down to Mark. Eduardo at this stage could be the last option to get the game that he's playing because he's no one else to fill in that position. But we saw Montgomery can play there today. I'd play Montgomery on the left rather than Kyogo and have Edouard play. You know?
You could go with that. Again, you're
You know?
throwing a young boy in against Alkmaar, and if it goes wrong, you know what the reaction's
Yeah,
going to be.
you could say the same thing, Mark. Watch on a young lad in Aberdeen. Do you know what I mean? I know there's a difference, not what we saw of Aberdeen, but Montgomery could be
Well, he could come on.
the one to give the chance. Do you know what I mean?
His life, there's no doubt about it, but I would look at all the options rather than starting with Edward. I definitely would. And I'm hoping that Ange is doing the same.
You know, because it really does frustrate me when I see him on the lineup. I know about G, but I do get frustrated when I see him on the lineup because one, we know he's not going to sign a new deal, and if he is going to sign a new deal, it's not going to be long term. You know. Perfect.
I'm just looking through AZ Alkmaar's team just now, and I never actually realised that they've just been promoted into the most promising young players. Ruud Hullet's son, Maxime Hullet. I hope if he's even half as good as him, he'll be alright. Yeah.
Aye. What age is he?
Only just turned 20.
It's not just Ajax really, but the whole Dutch league, and the Dutch FA. They all seem to have a good setup of youths, don't they? The Dutch league, don't they? They always seem to have good young players coming through, don't they? The Dutch.
When I was a youth, and I went across from high school at the time. I was only 14, and we went across to Holland for a tournament. So was
that your turning point then? So Mickey, when you started going on the wacky tobacco,
that was 20 years ago to the day that we went to that Holland and. We were playing against like just your amateur teams like that. We just couldn't play in a Sunday park.
Yeah.
Nearly every single team we played, there was 4 teams. Every single team we played against, even though they were amateur, all had a youth setup and like a mini stadium and stuff. No public parks. They all had their own ground. And that was 20 years ago. I wouldn't even like to think what the setups are now. And that's why they've got so many good youth players coming through. It makes you want to play. Like
they always had good young players coming through the Dutch. Like they always seem to be.
But Ajax will sell a player for £50 million and just replace him with a youth player. Imagine Celtic fans if we done that.
See, that's the difference. That's the difference, Mark, isn't there?
But that's that's just their system. That's the way they work. They've been doing it for years. But can you imagine if Celtic I'd sell say Edward and just put a youth player in the squad in place of him? They'd be up. That's that board. That's Dermot Desmond looking after his bonuses and shite like that.
Yeah, and it's the same Mark down in where you have all the top teams playing the kids in the League Cups. Like, you know, it won't be accepted here. Do you know what I mean? You know, Celtic putting out a reserve team in for a League Cup game, it just wouldn't be accepted here. But we are seeing the Mark.
Yeah, but Mikey says it would bother him. We've spoke about that before. I wouldn't have Celtic done that in the League Cup, as long as it was we were progressing. Do you know what I mean? But we're just like if we were in the Champions League, how early we play the League Cup kind of games. It would be worth forgetting about them to concentrate on the Champions League.
Liam Quinn is saying there. Sorry, Mike, just live chat there. 2 sec. Kids get picked up in Holland. John primary school and Scottish football kind of wait till they get into secondary school. You know, so it's kind of bred into them, Michael, at an early age in Holland, is it?
Yeah, well, like I say, when we went to play them, I was only 14, so we were up against, again, other under 14s, and we played against a couple of, like I said, I think what I found and understand what guys used to say, and I'm one that said it as well, but, I used to just play in the streets and stuff. But in the setup in Holland and that, like, everybody knows, like, if you playing for a team that's got a Stadium Stadium and there's a bit of effort going into the ground and it's got a good youth set up like the training and everything and that, or you're just going to a public park and when they changing rooms and the investment that Holland did 20, 30, 40 years ago compared to Scotland, that's how they're so far apart and they're producing the youth.
We went
like
get that Bertie Vaux in, wouldn't it, to try and rejuvenate things, and that other German guy at the SFA, and that didn't work. That was a bit of a disaster, wasn't it, Mikey?
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Like, it's just the general like facilities as well. Obviously, you've got to the quality of player, but if you've not got the facilities to coach the people, the Bairns in either, then I mean, I understand why we're so far behind them after seeing it firsthand. The difference. It was even the same for us, and like up in our game because we're playing in a wee stadium at that age. We were just expecting to play guys on Sunday league pitches.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And at 14, you're playing in like wee mini stadiums.
It's just going back, Mark. One of the craziest decisions by the Scottish FA and have no resolve league. You know,
that's a scandal, I think, Paul. Said that. That's, and I mean, it was the clubs that voted for it. You've got to question why Celtic voted for that.
Voted for it, yeah.
And then come out and moan about it.
Was it money or was it? Do you know what I mean? It doesn't make no sense. Like it's not. It's
all these players on your books that aren't.
Yeah.
They're just kicking their heels every weekend because of they'll set up some daft kick about friendly. You don't get better playing friendlies. You don't become a better player. You don't improve playing friendlies because they're played at a friendly pace.
Exactly. Lads, I'm going to leave from there. Mikey, do you want to add anything before we leave?
I just want to touch on what Liam says, and I couldn't agree more. I've noticed it myself. I'm starting to go into the coaching side of things as well. And it doesn't, and that's what he said, doesn't help when council are shutting off half the pitches, and it's the same in Dundee and Perth just now. So what they're doing is,
it's Mikey.
So what they're doing,
shutting up the parks, is it?
Yeah. So what they're doing is where there would normally be 6 to maybe 10, 11 side pitches on a big grassy bit. They're shutting them down and they're building like a sports centre that's got like 1 3G pitch and then an inside pitch. But what people didn't realise when you're doing that, it's an absolute fortune to get on that pitch for even an hour. Whilst beforehand, when there was loads of the pitches to actually play, you'd just went with your mates in the past. Everybody used to bunch for like one net, put up one net, and then can just fire it into one goal. They haven't even got the option that now because everything's fenced off. Like you can't even go like you can't even go for a toilet in this country now. We need to pay for it. No, I mean,
especially as well, like with a lot of, and it's the same here in Ireland. Like there's a lot of poverty, and parents don't have to be paying these yearly memberships for their kids to go play soccer every week, Mark, inside a big sports centre in 3D grass. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe this would probably be a good topic for another future podcast as well. Just general like grassroots, how poor it is towards other countries.
I could maybe get the guy that runs Aki's. See, Aki's, he does youth scouting and academy and stuff. I could maybe get him on to do that way.
I would love that. Because I would love to speak to guys like that just to see what their actual.
Yeah, I give you. I'd speak about the grassroots then and here in Ireland because Terence there's on the live chat as well. Like the grassroots in Ireland is just next to none. Do you know, it's next to none. Like how neglected it is, Mark. Do you know, it's neglected, isn't it?
Unless you're connected to like a
club. Yeah.
Want to get anywhere. We used to have our local team. Some of the guys in the live chat might have heard of them. Mull United. Mull United is one of the biggest kind of boys club in Scotland for years and years. And my nephews and that played them, but again, it was everything was money. No matter what you wanted to do with them, it was money. Whether it was hiring a park, whether it was hiring a park to train on, everything was just money all the time. And that's, I mean, there was wee guys there that they were turning up, right, mock it. They didn't have 50 pence to put in for their. Do you get what I mean? They're not because their mum didn't have 50 pence to give them. You say what you meant. You can't turn the kids away. Do you know what I mean? They're just there to play football and enjoy themselves. But if people further up the chain, all it seems to be is money. And the money that they get, it's none of the money in Scottish football seems to be getting into the grassroots level. We've got a park, it's a park just 5 minutes walk for us. And there used to be three, I'd say they were full-size football pitches. A grass one, an ash one, and one that had a weird kind of grass on it. They tried to put like drainage in it and the grass turned a bit weird. But we could play on them from morning to night. All the rest of the schemes about us playing, 20 games against the next scheme days kind of thing. It didn't cost us a penny. But
no, sure, I was growing up, yeah, it's the same, Mark. Down the park, 20 kids playing football, just gone, like, isn't this? It's gone.
I bet it's fenced off. That's turned into a like wee swing park for the kids that I think called the junkies sit in.
Just that's it.
No, see the other bit where the other two parts were. There are not even any goals here, I don't think, anywhere.
And if there is goals there, Mark, they're either ripped down by scum that are there freaking on drugs or drinking there. They have a great laugh and burning down the nets and stuff like that.
No, but even it just used to be the just metal full goals that sat there 24/7 every day of the year. They were buried, they were in the ground, and then it was started getting fenced off, and now there's not even any goals here. So there's not even anywhere local for kids just to go for a kick about. Every
Yeah,
other
so that's been
getting nae ball signs things, and the nearest place is either that Jock Steen that Blantyre Academy's trying to take over, or there's a bit in the bottom of Hamilton Pits. But again, that's costing you money. I mean,
you wonder how.
imagine
What?
Wayne's going into her mum and saying, "Mum, we need £50 £50 a tweet. You spent 40, go up and play football for an hour."
Exactly.
Just like, well, just like, I just wonder how Bairns actually get picked up for. Like, we're going about Celtic, maybe they'll produce anybody like talent. Back when I was younger, when we were at primary school, what used to happen in Dundee between Dundee United, Dundee and St Johnstone was the managers of the school team used to put the best players for each primary school forward for this thing that was called Dundee School Select. So every school in Dundee used to put their best players for their school team for trials. And that's how you earned the contract with either Dundee United, Dundee or St Johnstone in the past. And that's how I ended up going as a youth, the Dundee in the early days.
Well, years ago, one of the boys that helped run that Mull United club, Barry Ferguson, and that played through the
Yeah.
Paul McBride and that. That's all who they came through and that. What was his name? Geordie Hanley. He was a scout for Hibs, and when I was at school, one of the teachers, he was a scout for Dundee United. Graham Livingston. Paul Hart actually took him as an assistant manager when he was at Alloa or something like that a few years.
He was at Dundee United for ages, was he?
Graham Livingston, aye.
Yeah.
And
In the early 2000s.
Oh, Mikey, I'm going back even further than that. I left school in 1990 and he was a scout for them then. Because one of my pals, he was with them for years, Pat Clark. He was with them for years, and actually they let him go, and it was he came home for the weekend, and know how when you're in digs you've got a certain time to be back home for, kind of thing, into your digs. His car had broke down, and he phoned in front and told the woman, "Look, my car's broke down. I'm waiting in the A or RAC or that to come out and towers to your bit." And obviously the woman did her job and just marked that he was late coming in, and that Ivan Golak, mind him, it was him that had a fight with him because he was late home to his digs that night and he never really got his chance. But Graham Livingston was, I mean, as I says, I left school in 1990 and he'd been with Dundee United for years before that. Actually, see when I saw that Paul Hartley took him to, I think it was Alloa or something, I actually thought he was dead because he was ancient back then when I was at school.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But Mikey, it's just kids, how do they get picked up these days? Unless you're kind of a superstar, you're not going to just, you know what I mean? Would George Best have been spotted? These kind of players, you know how these players years ago were spotted.
But that's how it started, Mark. It's like, and how things have changed now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even for a young lad here, like, to get spotted now, like, there's not even scouts going out to grassroots matches now. Do you know what I mean? It's next to none. Like, you know what I mean? You kind of, it's like you have to know someone, as you said, Mark, within the club to get spotted, or do you know what I mean? It's like who you don't know and what you're able to do, Mark. Do you know what I mean?
Like,
you know,
Mikey seen some young lad playing football and saying he's some player, and Mikey knowing some guy at Dundee United to say
exactly.
check this wee guy out. And whether
Exactly.
they go or no, you never. Do you know what I mean? The scouts even do that anymore. Getting like all these stupid wee games that are going on up and down the country every Sunday morning.
I was just talking. Well, Mike, sorry.
Something's drastically changed for years ago. Because if you look at the quality, okay, Scotland are starting to get an R8 team together just now, apart from they've not got a striker. Compared to the players that got brought through years ago to now, there's a drastic change in quality. There was a lot better players years ago than there is now. When coming through in Scotland, like you just need to look at Celtic's team as well. Look at players coming through.
More footballing players, like able to play, we say, classic football. They're not as physical as other Scottish teams would be. Like, as I remember growing up, you had the likes of Craig Ball. They were big physical players. Back the Scottish teams were always big, tough teams to beat. As Mike said, like, they were able to play more football and play the ball better on their feet. Is that down to maybe foreign coaches coming into the league, Michael, changing that?
I'm not sure, like you say, but I'm going on to just when I was all younger, and how we got picked up for playing, and it was generally for playing through the schools and getting put on trials to like tournaments and that were arranged for senior clubs to come and see and that, and you just didn't see anything like that happening now, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I mean, right, Mikey, you've probably got friends that their boys are at that kind of age that if they were good players, they would get picked up with teams. Do you ever hear them even saying, "Oh, so and so was down watching our John the other night when he was playing"? I mean, I mean, it did used to happen. You knew if there was a scout coming to watch your game, didn't you?
Exactly. Of course.
you definitely knew.
Aye, and if they just turned up, your manager knew. Your here, that's a scout for Dundee or Dundee United or there.
Never got spotted myself, like, but there were scouts there.
It'd be interesting to find out how Barry, I never actually spoke to him about this, like how he actually got, like, because obviously I never made it up until the full team, or that I was just a school youth at Dundee. I never
We'll
made
do
it.
we'll do a grassroots podcast. We'll get it set up. We'll have Mickey, Mark. We'll get Barry on. Mark Liam Quinder, who's leading in on the forum. He's involved in grassroots, so he could we'll get him set up and he could join us, and we'll have a whole discussion on grassroots. And
I'll try and get my wee pal to come on, see if he'll come on.
yeah, it'd be interesting to see like
For Ackies.
what's going wrong and why aren't these young lads getting picked up, or how can they get picked up, you know?
I mean, don't get us wrong, Paul. What we're saying is true, but we've got to remember as well that all these teams like your Ackies and your Kilmarnocks and your Motherwell, they're still
Doing this.
Aye, but
why do big teams doing it? Do you know what I mean? That's the problem, isn't it?
they're doing it. But how does it work? There's what Mikey's saying, right? Motherwell and that, they're bringing through young player after young player, but you never. Where's the kind of link? They're just these players are just appearing.
Exactly.
Like even going back to Motherwell, in the early 2000s, when they had like Keith Lasley, they had Stephen Pearson, McFadden, Corrigan and Cragen and that. They all came to Motherwell as a young age. The whole first teams at one point in the early 2000s, all teams in the SPL were all based on players that came through. There wasn't like Hibs were Reardon and O'Connor and Tam McManus and players like that. They were
Was
all
that
came
like
through the
Mikey,
youth.
maybe like these low clubs, Mark, and Mikey, like would they have like a talent spotter that'll go around these grassroots leagues for the club and start looking at these things, or whether Celtic don't? Do you know what I mean?
Well, the wee guy I'm talking about, it was actually he used to play for Ackies, and then he just kind of lost his way a wee bit when he was younger. But eventually he started work running that Mull United club I'm talking about. Because his contacts with Ackies,
he was recommending these players then.
He was recommending players to the guys at Ackies, and they were seeing that he was doing a good job and things like that. And they offered him this job as he did youth recruitment or something like that through that. So he knows
what age, Mark, then was he recommending them at? What age? What are they getting the breakthrough to go to Ackies and train? 16, 17 or younger?
Younger than that, it would be, Paul. It would be younger than that.
Because Celtic do have like like a kids thing, don't they? They have like kids with under 10s stuff like that. They go to camps and stuff like that, don't they?
But they've got that school. Celtic can take you on for your 8-year-old or 6-year-old or something like that. And there's a school that you go to and things like that. So they're doing it, but it's still something that's been ignored in Scottish football for years.
When I was, like you say, when I got picked up when I was younger, we were getting scouted and that for Dundee and that. I was only 10-year-old. That was when I got approached when I was playing for a team in Dundee called Maryfield under a guy under a legendary manager in Dundee called Jimmy Faulkner. He's one of the best youth coaches that were around in Dundee, and still is to this day. He still does it. He took us from the under 9s right up to and we won the league every year. So there was about 3 or 4 guys for our team that got picked up when we were 9 and 10-year-old.
And is that still the same case now, like with Dundee, or just stopped now? Is it?
Just stopped. Like I say, I don't know how players get picked up now. Because that's how it used to happen. You used to like at that age, 9, 10, and like I say, when Barry and that, obviously he actually made it all the way through. I can guarantee you that whether it was Dundee, Hamilton, or whoever it was at the time for Barry, he would have been on the radar for he's about 9 or 10-year-old.
Aye.
Barry's on the live chat there tonight, so we look into that in the next week or so. There we look into, Mark, when maybe we don't have a midweek game, a Europa League game or something like that, just before the just maybe for the group stage, Mark. Before the group stage, there might be some break, and we'll do a midweek show of grassroots, and we'll just generally chat. Barry, we get Liam set up there. We'll have Mikey in, and if you can get your buddy on, that'd be a great show to talk about, you know.
Aye, I'll see what I can do, bud.
Like I said, I'm
Yeah.
happy like to take it obviously because Barry and I played at a higher level than me, so it might be worth getting Barry on it. Like you say, if Liam's part of grassroots, then Mark and that, I'm quite happy just to be in the background to moderating the chat. So
Whatever, we'll get something sorted out anyway.
yeah.
Perfect. That's it, lads. Thanks to Mikey, as always, from coming on. To you, lads, in the live chat, as always, great support you're giving us. Please hit the like button, hit the notifications button, and please leave us a comment. Mark, we close the show.
Thanks very much, Mikey. Don't decide to take a fit now. Thanks everybody for joining the live chat. As Mikey said, subscribe, hit the like button, and please, if you can, leave a comment because it helps the channel grow on YouTube. Thanks very much, everybody. Good night, God bless, and hail, hail.
We off?